The fluorescent lights of Montana State Hospital burned cold at 4:37 a.m., their sterile glow painting the ICU corridor in shades of exhaustion and dread. Marcus Ghost Donovan's boots echoed against linoleum as he ran leather vests still damp from the rain he'd ridden through for the last 200 miles. His hands trembled, not from cold, but from the phone call that had shattered his sleep 3 hours earlier. Katie was dying. His daughter was dying, and he'd told her he'd handle it tomorrow. Tomorrow had come too late. A nurse materialized in his path clipboard pressed against her scrubs like armor. Her eyes held the practiced sympathy of someone who delivered bad news professionally. "Mr. Donovan, your daughter is in critical condition. Room 347. The doctor will, Marcus pushed past her, heard her protest dissolve into the background noise of beeping monitors and ventilators, breathing for people who couldn't breathe on their own. Room 347. The numbers blurred as he ran his 64-year-old body protesting every step, but his guilt driving him forward with the relentless momentum of a freight train that had lost its brakes. The door stood open. Inside, machines surrounded a hospital bed where his daughter lay broken. Katie's face, swollen beyond recognition, wore bruises like a painter had gone mad with purple and black. A breathing tube snaked down her throat. Her chest rose and fell with mechanical precision, no rhythm of her own left. In the corner chair sat Linda, his ex-wife, mascara streaked down her face like war paint. She looked up when Marcus entered, and her expression shifted from grief to something harder. "You're late." Linda's voice came out flat, drained of everything except accusation. "You're always late." Marcus moved to the bedside, took Katie's hand in his. Her fingers felt cold, lifeless. The ring he'd given her for her 16th birthday, a small silver band with her birthstone, still circled her finger, somehow untouched by whatever violence had destroyed the rest of her. "I came as fast as I could. I was in Billings. The club run. She called you first." Linda stood her chair, scraping against tile. "At 11 p.m., told you Ryan was hurting her. Said she needed you. What did you tell her, Marcus?" The memory surfaced like bile. Katie's voice on the phone, scared but trying to hide it. "Dad, I need help. Ryan's drunk and he's angry and I don't know what to do." And Marcus, exhausted from riding all day, had said the words that would haunt him forever. "I'll come get you tomorrow morning, baby girl. I'm 200 miles away. Lock yourself in the bathroom. I'll handle it tomorrow." "I told her I'd come," Marcus's voice cracked. I told her. "It's 4:30 in the morning." Linda moved closer, fury and grief warring in her expression. "She called you at 11. That's 5.5 hours. She's been dying for 5.5 hours while you—" "What, finished your ride, had a beer with your brothers?" "Took your time. The roads were flooded. There was an accident on I-90. I got here as fast as—" The door opened and a doctor entered. Indian mid-40s, exhaustion etched into the lines around his eyes. His name tag read Dr. Patel. "Mr. Donovan, Mrs. Donovan." He nodded to each of them. "I need to explain your daughter's condition. Catherine sustained severe trauma. Multiple blunt force injuries to her head, broken ribs, internal bleeding. We've done everything we can, but the damage is extensive. Her brain is swelling and we can't control it." Marcus felt the floor tilt. "Is she going to make it?" Dr. Patel's pause lasted a century. "I'm very sorry. The injuries are incompatible with life. We're keeping her comfortable, but without the machines, she can't breathe on her own. The question now is how long you want to continue life support." "No." Marcus shook his head, the word torn from somewhere deep. "No, she's strong. She can fight this. Katie's a fighter." "Mr. Donovan." I said no. Linda's hand found his shoulder, and her touch carried more weight than words. When he turned to face her, he saw his own denial mirrored and rejected in her eyes. "She's already gone, Marcus. The doctor is telling us that machine is breathing for a corpse. Our daughter is gone." "She's not." Katie's eyes fluttered open. For one impossible moment, hope flared in Marcus's chest like a struck match. Her gaze found his face, recognition sparking in pupils blown wide from trauma and medication. Her lips moved around the breathing tube. Dr. Patel moved quickly. "Catherine, don't try to talk. You have a breathing tube. Just rest." But Katie's hand tightened on Marcus's with surprising strength. She pulled, drawing him closer, her eyes urgent and desperate. Dr. Patel hesitated, then carefully removed the breathing tube. Katie gasped, coughed, blood flecking her lips. Dad! The word came out as a whisper shredded by the tube's passage. You came. I'm here, baby girl. I'm here now. I'm sorry I'm late. I'm so sorry. Ryan. Katie's eyes struggled to focus. He had a spiderweb tattoo on his neck. I should have listened to you. About men who hit. Don't talk. Save your strength. We're going to fix this. The doctors are going to. No. Katie's grip weakened. I'm dying. I can feel it. Everything's cold. You're going to be fine. You're going to. Promise me. Blood bubbled at the corner of her mouth. Promise you'll protect other girls, women like me, who stay when they should run. Katie, Then why weren't you there when I needed you? Her eyes held his, and in them Marcus saw not accusation, but genuine confusion, the question of a child who'd always believed her father was invincible. I waited, I called, I thought you'd come. Marcus had no answer. The words lodged in his throat like shattered glass, cutting him from the inside. He'd told himself for years that he was a good father, a protector, a man who stood up for the vulnerable. But when his own daughter had needed him most, he'd chosen tomorrow over today. Chosen sleep over the 200-mile ride. Chosen wrong. I love you, Daddy. Katie's voice faded to almost nothing. Tell Mom, I'm sorry. I should have been stronger. No, baby girl, you were strong. You are strong. You're the strongest person I know. This isn't your fault. This is Ryan's fault. And I swear to you, I swear on my life he will pay. And I'll protect others. I'll keep them safe. I promise you. On everything I am, I promise. Katie's lips curved into something that might have been a smile. Her eyes drifted closed. The heart monitor's steady beep shifted to a long, sustained tone. Patel moved forward, checked for pulse-pupil response, all the rituals of confirming what everyone in the room already knew. Time of death of 47 a.m. His voice carried professional gentleness. I'm very sorry for your loss. Linda's sob filled the room raw and animal. But Marcus couldn't make a sound. He stood frozen, Katie's cooling hand still in his, the promise he'd just made echoing in his skull like a bell that would never stop ringing. Get out, Linda's voice cut through his paralysis. You killed her. Your promises killed her. Get out of here, Marcus. Get out and never come back. Linda, boy, you were 10 minutes too late. 10 minutes. If you'd ridden faster, if you'd left when she called, if you'd been the father you always said you were, she'd be alive. But you weren't, and she's dead, and I never want to see your face again. Marcus looked down at Katie one last time. Her face had already begun to relax, the pain bleeding away to leave something that looked almost peaceful. The silver ring on her finger caught the fluorescent light, throwing tiny prisms across the white sheets. He left the room, left his daughter's body, left his ex-wife's grief, left the hospital, and walked into the cold January morning where his motorcycle waited like a faithful dog. The sky was beginning to lighten in the east-gray dawn, breaking over mountains that didn't care about dead daughters or broken promises. Marcus swung his leg over the bike, kicked the engine to life. The roar filled his ears, but couldn't drown out Katie's last question. Why weren't you there when I needed you? He rode. Rode through Billings as the city woke. Rode south on Highway 89 while the sun climbed and the world pretended nothing had changed. But everything had changed. Marcus had become a man haunted by 10 minutes, and that ghost would ride with him every day for the rest of his life. Marpin. 5 years later, the ghost still rode shotgun. Wednesday afternoon, sunlight slanted through the windows of Rosie's diner, catching dust motes that drifted lazy through air that smelled of coffee and bacon grease and pie cooling on the counter. The clock above the register read 2:47 p.m., and Elena Reyes wiped down the Formica counter for what felt like the 100th time that shift. The lunch rush had ended an hour ago. Now the diner held only the usual stragglers. Mr. Peterson working his way through the newspaper one section at a time, his coffee cup refilled so many times the liquid was more cream than caffeine, and two truckers at the corner booth stretching a slice of cherry pie across a conversation about routes and weather and all the small talk that filled the empty spaces of long-haul driving. Elena's feet ached in the way they always did by mid-afternoon, that specific throb that came from standing on linoleum for 6 hours straight. But the ache was familiar, almost comforting in its predictability. This was her third year at Rosie's, 3 years of saving tips in a mason jar, 3 years of smiling at truckers and retirees and the occasional family stopping off Highway 89 on their way to Yellowstone, 3 years closer to nursing school, 3 years of building a life for herself and Tommy that looked nothing like the foster homes and state assistants that had defined their childhood. The bell above the door chimed. Elena glanced up automatically, customer service smile ready, but relaxed when she saw the motorcycles pulling into the parking lot outside. 5 of them heavy cruisers that gleamed even under the dust of the highway. Wednesday, 3 p.m., the Iron Saints were right on schedule. Miguel stuck his head through the kitchen window. The bikers are here. You want me to start the usual? Yeah, thanks, Miguel. Elena grabbed 5 menus, even though the Saints never needed them. They ordered the same thing every week, coffee pie and whatever the special happened to be. They ate, they tipped 200%, and they treated her with a courtesy that half the town couldn't manage. The bell chimed again as the door swung open. Marcus Ghost Donovan entered first, his presence filling the diner the way a storm front fills the sky before rain. 64 years old, 6'4", with a gray-streaked beard that reached his chest and arms like something carved from oak. The leather vest he wore carried patches from 3 decades of riding Iron Saints president across the smaller patches covering the front, in a language Elena had learned to read over 3 years of Wednesday afternoons. The skull patch meant he'd lost a brother. The flag patch meant he'd served. The small silver pin shaped like a cross meant something private, something he never talked about. Behind Marcus came the others. Silver Thomas Blackwood, the VP 62, with silver hair that explained his road name and a scar across his cheek from some old war. Hawk Daniel Running Bear, Native American 59, with eyes that tracked everything and missed nothing. Preacher James Walsh 61 called that because he'd been a chaplain before he was a biker and still carried that air of someone who'd spent time talking to God. And finally, rookie Michael Chen, the youngest at 38, Ernest, in The Way Puppies Are, Ernest, still trying to prove he belonged among men who'd been riding together since before he was born. Afternoon, Elena, Marcus's voice rumbled like distant thunder. Wednesday special, still meatloaf. Meatloaf and mashed potatoes. Coffee's fresh. I'll get you set up. The Saints took their usual booth, the corner spot that gave them clear sight lines to both exits. Old habit from old wars, Elena figured. She brought coffee, 5 cups arranged on her tray with the precision of long practice. Marcus caught her eye as she set his cup down. You doing okay today? The question surprised her. The Saints were unfailingly polite, but they usually kept conversation to orders and weather and the occasional comment about the quality of Rosie's pie. This felt different, more personal. I'm good. Why do you ask? You look tired, more than usual. Elena forced a smile. Nursing school applications. I've been up late filling out paperwork. Financial aid forms are their own special kind of hell. When you applying for Montana State, fall semester, if I can pull together the tuition. Marcus nodded slowly, something thoughtful moving behind his eyes. Katie wanted to be a nurse, my daughter. She said she wanted to help people when they were having the worst day of their lives. It was the first time in 3 years Elena had heard him mention a daughter. Did she become a nurse? No. Marcus's expression shuddered. She died before she got the chance. Elena's training kicked in before her curiosity could push further. I'm sorry, I'll get your pies. She retreated to the counter, feeling the weight of something large and strong pressing down on the diner's air. Miguel had the pies ready: apple for Marcus, cherry for Silver, peach for Hawk, lemon meringue for Preacher, and chocolate cream for Rookie. Elena loaded them onto her tray, balanced the weight with practiced ease. The bell above the door chimed again. 3 men walked in, and Elena's customer service smile faltered before she could stop it. They moved, wrong shoulders rolled back in a swagger that had nothing to do with confidence and everything to do with threat. The one in front was tall and lean, probably 32, with a spiderweb tattoo crawling up his neck from the collar of his leather jacket. His companions flanked him like satellites, one broad and thick-necked, with hands that looked like they'd been breaking things since childhood, the other wiry, with a face that made Elena think of rats in alleys. Sit anywhere you like. Elena kept her voice steady, professional, even as her gut sent up warning flares. The men took the booth closest to the door, the kind of position that blocked easy exit. Elena gave them a minute to settle, delivered the Iron Saints their pies, then approached with menus and her brightest smile. "What can I get you gentlemen today?" Spiderweb looked her up and down in a way that made her skin crawl. "Coffee, black, and make it fresh. None of that burnt crap sitting in the pot." "Of course," Elena jotted it down. "Anything else?" "Yeah," the wiry one sneered. "Make it snappy. We got places to be." Elena nodded, turned toward the coffee station. The pot was fresh brewed less than 20 minutes ago, but she reached for the filters anyway. Better to brew new coffee than argue with men who were looking for a reason to escalate. "Hey," Spiderweb's voice stopped her. "You deaf, I said fresh coffee. That pot looks like it's been sitting there since yesterday." Elena turned back. "This batch is fresh, sir, but I'm happy to brew a new pot if you prefer." "Are you arguing with me?" The diner had gone quiet. Mr. Peterson stopped turning pages. Miguel's face appeared in the kitchen window. Even the truckers stopped mid-sentence, their pie forgotten. "No, sir, I'll make a fresh pot right away." Elena turned again, but Spiderweb stood blocking her path. Up close, he smelled of cigarettes and something chemical, maybe meth. He used his height, all 6'2" of it, to loom over her 5'4" frame. "You know what your problem is, sweetheart." His breath was hot on her face. "You got an attitude. You think you're better than us." "I don't think that at all. I'm just trying to do my job." "Your job," he laughed, the sound like gravel in a garbage disposal. "Your job is to do what I tell you when I tell you. Now apologize." "Sir, if I offended you, I'm sorry. Let me just get you that coffee." "Not good enough." His hand shot out, grabbed her wrist hard enough that pain lanced up her arm. "Get on your knees and apologize properly." The air solidified. Miguel started to move from the kitchen, but the thick-necked guy was already up, one hand inside his jacket, in a gesture that needed no translation. Mr. Peterson half rose from his booth, then sank back down, his elderly face pale with fear and the knowledge of his own limitations. "I can't do that." Elena tried to pull her wrist free. "Please let go of me. Make me." Elena twisted, used the momentum to break his grip the way her father had taught her when she was 12, and the world still had fathers in it. But Spiderweb anticipated the move, yanked her back so hard she stumbled into their table. Coffee cups rattled, and then his hand came up fast and open-palmed and caught her across the face with a crack that echoed through the diner like a gunshot. Pain exploded across Elena's cheek, sharp and stinging, and so shocking that for a moment she couldn't process what had happened. The room tilted. Tears sprang to her eyes, automatic response to the impact. She caught herself on the booth's edge, one hand pressed to her burning face. That's what happens to people who don't show respect. Spiderweb released her wrist and stepped back, satisfaction written across his features. "Maybe next time you'll remember your place." Elena stood frozen, one hand to her cheek, too stunned to move. Mr. Peterson was on his feet now. Newspaper forgotten, his face ashen. Miguel had come around from the kitchen with a spatula still in his hand, looking torn between intervention and self-preservation. The bell above the door chimed. 5 bikers walked in. They weren't the weekend warrior types, the accountants and dentists playing dress-up on expensive cruisers. They only rode when weather was perfect. These were men whose leather had been worn by years and miles, whose boots thudded against linoleum with the weight of purpose. Road dust covered their vests. Grease stained their hands. They moved like wolves who'd been hunting together so long they no longer needed to communicate with words. Marcus entered first, and Elena watched his eyes sweep the diner in one practiced motion. Her red cheek, Spiderweb's aggressive stance, the terrified silence that had gripped the room like a fist around a throat. Something in his expression went cold, and still the kind of stillness that preceded violence the way silence precedes thunder. Behind Marcus, the other saints fanned out, not overtly threatening, but positioning themselves with the unconscious precision of men who'd cleared rooms in countries most people couldn't find on a map. Silver moved left, Hawk right. Preacher stayed near the door. Rookie took up position near the kitchen window, cutting off one potential exit. "We interrupting something?" Marcus's voice carried to every corner of the diner, low and controlled in a way that was somehow more frightening than shouting would have been. Spiderweb turned, and for just a second, Elena saw uncertainty flicker across his face. Then his bravado reconstructed itself brick by brick. "Private conversation. Keep moving, old man." The corner of Marcus's mouth twitched. Not quite a smile, more like the expression a shark might make before it bit. He glanced at his brothers, and something passed between them, some silent communication built on decades of shared experience. See, here's the thing. Marcus started walking forward, slow and deliberate. We're regular customers here. Been stopping at Rosie's every Wednesday for 5 years now. And Elena there, she's always treated us right. Good service, friendly smile, never once complained when we track in half the highway on our boots. He stopped about 10 feet from Spiderweb. The size difference was obvious. Marcus had 4 inches and probably 50 pounds on the younger man. Not fat, but the kind of solid bulk that comes from years of hard living and harder work. So when I walk in and see her with a handprint on her face and tears in her eyes, and you standing there looking real proud of yourself, well, that bothers me. This ain't your business. The thick-necked guy spoke for the first time, his hand still inside his jacket. Hawk's voice cut in from the right, quiet, but carrying that edge of flint on steel. Son, I'd move that hand real slow like away from whatever you got in there. Real slow. The tension crackled through the air, electric and dangerous. Elena could see Spiderweb doing the math, 3 of them against 5 bikers. Older guys, sure, but with the kind of presence that said they'd been in more fights than these punks had been alive. And there was something else, something in the way the Saints held themselves, combat veterans, every one of them. Men who'd learned violence in places where mistakes meant body bags. We don't want any trouble. Spiderweb's voice had lost some of its edge. Just having a disagreement with the waitress. Disagreement. Marcus's voice stayed calm, which somehow made it more terrifying. That what you call putting your hands on a woman less than half your size? See where I come from. We got a different word for that. We call it being a coward. Spiderweb's face flushed red. Watch your mouth, old man. Or what? Marcus took another step forward. You gonna hit me too? Come on then. I'm standing right here. Let's see how tough you are against someone who can fight back. The challenge hung in the air. Spiderweb's hands clenched into fists, but he didn't move forward. His companions had gone very still, their earlier bravado evaporating like water on hot asphalt. That's what I thought. Marcus turned to Elena, and his expression softened in a way that made something crack in her chest. You okay, darling? Elena nodded, not trusting her voice. Miguel, Marcus called toward the kitchen. You call the cops yet? Miguel held up his cell phone. Pshimo, on the phone with them now. Spiderweb's eyes went wide. You can't. We didn't do nothing. You assaulted that young lady. Silver's voice came from the left, cultured and educated in a way that contrasted with his scarred face. That's battery. Probably some other charges too, given you were trying to intimidate her. It was just a slap, the wiry one protested. Just a slap. Marcus's voice dropped even lower, and Elena saw his hands clench and unclench at his sides like he was physically restraining himself from violence. Let me tell you something about just a slap. My daughter was about Elena's age, worked her way through college as a waitress just like her. And if I ever found out someone put their hands on her the way you did to Elena, there wouldn't be enough of him left to arrest. You understand what I'm saying? The threat wasn't veiled. It was crystal clear and delivered with the absolute certainty of a man who meant every word and had both the capability and willingness to make good on it. Spiderweb looked at the door, clearly calculating whether he could make a run for it. But Preacher had positioned himself there, not blocking it overtly, but present in a way that said getting past him wouldn't be easy. Sit down. Marcus's voice allowed no argument. Slowly, the 3 men sat back in their booth. The thick-necked one had finally moved his hand away from his jacket, both palms now visible on the table in a gesture of surrender. The wiry one stared at the tabletop, suddenly fascinated by the pattern of water rings and old coffee stains. Elena, Marcus's voice gentled, you want to come over here by us just until the cops arrive. Elena moved on legs that felt disconnected from her body, crossed the diner on autopilot, and found herself standing near the Saints' booth. Rookie quietly handed her a clean napkin. She pressed it to her face, felt wetness, and realized she was crying. Thank you, she whispered. Nothing to thank us for. Rookie's voice was kind, just doing what's right. The minutes that followed felt suspended in amber. The 3 men sat in sullen silence, occasionally glancing at the Saints, who'd positioned themselves like a human wall between the thugs and any possible escape. Marcus pulled up a chair near Elena, not crowding her, but staying close enough that she felt protected. "You've been working here long." His tone was conversational, clearly trying to help her calm down. "3 years. Saving for nursing school." "Nursing, that's noble work. My ex-wife was a nurse. Toughest person I ever met." He smiled, and the expression transformed his face from intimidating to almost gentle. "Takes a special kind of strength to care for people when they're at their worst. That's why I want to do it, to help people." "Well, you've been helping people every Wednesday with good coffee and a kind word. That counts for something too." Police arrived 7 minutes after Miguel's call, their sirens cutting through the afternoon quiet. Two patrol officers entered, took in the scene with practiced efficiency. The Saints stepped back but didn't leave, giving statements one by one about what they'd witnessed when they walked in. Spiderweb tried to claim it was all a misunderstanding, that Elena had gotten hysterical over nothing. But the red mark on her face told a different story, and when Miguel offered to show them the security footage from the camera above the register, the three men went quiet. They were arrested on charges of battery and criminal intimidation. As the officers led them out in handcuffs, Spiderweb shot a venomous look back at the diner. But Marcus stepped into his line of sight, blocking Elena from view, and the message was clear as daylight. "You'll have to go through me first." When the police cars pulled away, Elena finally let herself collapse into the booth. The adrenaline was draining out of her all at once, leaving her shaking so hard she couldn't hold the glass of water Miguel brought. Her hands trembled. Her breath came in shallow gasps. The reality of what had almost happened, what might have happened, if the Saints hadn't walked in exactly when they did, crashed over her in waves. Marcus slid into the booth across from her, his massive frame taking up half the space. "First time something like that's happened." Elena nodded, not trusting herself to speak without breaking down completely. "Won't be the last, unfortunately. World's got its share of people who think power comes from hurting those they perceive as weaker. They're wrong, of course. Real power is knowing you could hurt someone and choosing not to. It's standing up for people who can't stand up for themselves. Like you did today." Marcus shrugged, but something old and painful moved behind his eyes. "We've all been on the wrong side of things at some point in our lives. The Iron Saints were trying to do better now. Make amends, you could say." "Why?" Elena asked. "Why did you help me? You don't even know me." "Don't need to know you to know right from wrong. And we've been coming here long enough to know you're one of the good ones. You treat everyone the same, whether they're ordering a steak or stretching a cup of coffee across 2 hours. That matters." Silver approached the table. "We should probably get back on the road, Bear. We're already running late for the VA hospital visit." "VA hospital?" Elena heard herself ask. "We go every Wednesday." Rookie joined them, his young face earnest. "Spend a few hours with the veterans, especially the ones who don't get many visitors. Bring some magazines, play cards, just be there, you know." Fresh tears sprang to Elena's eyes, but these were different. "You're all veterans. Some of us." Marcus stood fishing out his wallet. "Others just believe in taking care of the people who served. It's a way to give back." He pulled out $100 bill and laid it on the table. "I can't accept this," Elena protested. "It's too much." "It's not enough." Marcus's voice was firm. "And I wasn't asking. You take that money, put it toward your nursing school, consider it an investment in the future. You're going to help a lot of people, Elena, I can tell." He turned to leave, but Elena stood quickly. "Wait." Marcus paused. "Can I?" Elena felt heat rise to her face. "Can I hug you? Is that weird?" The massive biker's face broke into a genuine smile, the kind that crinkled the corners of his eyes and made him look years younger. "Not weird at all, darling." Elena wrapped her arms around him, and it was like hugging a mountain. But it was also the safest she'd felt since the whole nightmare began. When she pulled back, she looked at each of the Saints in turn. "Thank you, all of you. I don't know what would have happened if you hadn't walked in." "We'll never know." Marcus pulled out a business card, the Iron Saints logo embossed across the front, a phone number printed below. "And that's just fine. You take care of yourself, Elena. And if anyone ever gives you trouble again, you call this number. We take care of our own." "But I'm not." "You are now." Rookie grinned. "Anyone who slings coffee to the Iron Saints is family. That's the rule." The bikers left in a thunder of motorcycle engines, a sound that seemed to shake the very foundation of the diner. Elena stood at the window watching them pull out onto Highway 89 in tight formation, heading north toward whatever the road held next. Miguel came up beside her, still holding his spatula. You know what's funny? When they first started coming here, I was scared of them. Thought they'd be trouble. And now, Elena asked, now I know the truth. Sometimes the people who look the scariest on the outside are the gentlest on the inside. And sometimes the monsters wear nice clothes and friendly smile. He squeezed her shoulder. You did good today, mija. Kept your head. Stayed professional, even when that pendejo was way out of line. I was terrified. Courage isn't not being afraid. It's being afraid and doing the right thing anyway. You've got that in spades. Elena looked down at the $100 bill on the table, then at the business card in her hand. She thought about the Iron Saints heading to the VA hospital to sit with forgotten veterans. She thought about Marcus's daughter, who'd wanted to be a nurse but never got the chance. She thought about how the scariest moment of her life had been transformed by 5 men on motorcycles who'd had every reason to just keep riding but chose to stop instead. The bell above the door chimed again, and Elena tensed automatically. But it was just Mrs. Patterson, the retired schoolteacher, who came in every Wednesday for lemon meringue pie and Earl Grey tea. Hello, dear, Mrs. Patterson called cheerfully. You look like you've had quite the afternoon. Elena touched her cheek where the red mark was already starting to fade. You could say that, Mrs. Patterson. But I'm okay now. She tucked Marcus's business card into her pocket, feeling its weight like a talisman. She was okay, more than okay. More. She'd been reminded that for every person who chose cruelty, there were others who chose kindness. For every coward who picked on the vulnerable, there were protectors who stood in the gap. And sometimes those protectors rode motorcycles and went by names like Ghost, and they showed up exactly when they were needed most. Marcus rode point position on Highway 89 North, his road king eating up miles with the steady rhythm he'd come to associate with meditation. The afternoon sun slanted through pine trees, throwing shadows across asphalt that shimmered with heat. Behind him, his brothers rode in their usual formation, Silver on his right, Hawk on his left, Preacher and Rookie bringing up the rear. They'd been riding together so long, they moved like a single organism, adjusting to curves and traffic without conscious thought. But Marcus's mind wasn't on the road. It was back in that diner, seeing Elena's red cheek and terrified eyes, seeing Katie's bruised face in the hospital bed. The two images overlapping until he couldn't separate them, until every woman in trouble became his daughter, and every moment of hesitation became those 10 minutes that defined his failure. The spiderweb tattoo bothered him. Bothered him in a way he couldn't quite articulate, but felt in his gut like a fist clenching. Spiderweb with RC 2019 inside it. Ryan Castellano's memorial. The nephew of Anthony Castellano, the man who'd posted Ryan's bail 5 years ago. The man whose money had bought Ryan 6 months of freedom before someone Marcus had made sure of this, arranged for Ryan to have an accident in the county jail. His phone buzzed in his pocket. Marcus pulled to the shoulder, the other Saints following suit. He checked the screen, Sheriff Tom Harrison. A friend, one of the few law enforcement officers who'd looked the other way when justice needed to be served outside the boundaries of what was strictly legal. Tom. Marcus, we got a problem. Tom's voice sounded strained. Vincent Russo, the guy who assaulted Elena Reyes Anthony Castellano, posted his bail. $250,000 cash. He's out. Already it's been 3 hours. That's what I said. More than that, Anthony's attorney filed harassment charges against you. Says you threatened his nephew without provocation, that Vincent was the victim of biker gang intimidation. That's bullshit. Elena's the victim. I know, brother, but Castellano's got Judge Morrison in his pocket. Warrants being issued for your arrest. You need to lawyer up. Marcus felt the road tilt beneath him, not literally, but in that way reality sometimes shifted, when you realize the game was rigged from the start. How long do I have? 48 hours, maybe less. Marcus, I can't protect you from this. Castellano's playing chess while we're playing checkers. Thanks for the heads up, Tom. Watch your 6. Castellano doesn't forget, and he doesn't forgive. The call ended. Marcus stared at his phone for a long moment, then looked up at his brothers who'd gathered around. Their faces asked the question their mouths didn't need to. Anthony Castellano bailed out Vincent, and he's coming for me. Silver's expression went hard. Then we prepare for war. We can't. Marcus pocketed his phone. We've got to be smart about this. Castellano owns half the county judges included. He wants me arrested on harassment charges, wants to paint us as the aggressors. What's the play? Hawk asked. We stick to schedule. VA hospital visit like always. We don't give Castellano any excuse to escalate. And we figure out what he wants before he makes his move. He wants revenge for Ryan, Preacher said quietly. That's what this is about. Marcus nodded slowly. They all knew the truth, or most of it anyway. Only Silver knew the full story, how Marcus had borrowed $50,000 from Russian loan sharks to pay for Ryan's prison murder, how that debt had grown to $500,000 with interest, how Marcus had robbed one of Castellano's drug houses to pay it off. The money had saved the Iron Saints clubhouse from foreclosure, but it had also put a target on Marcus's back that he'd known would come to eventually. Then we deal with it when it comes. Marcus swung back onto his bike. Right now, we've got veterans waiting. Let's ride. Montana VA Medical Center sprawled across 10 acres on the north side of Billings, a modern facility that tried and mostly failed to disguise its institutional nature with landscaping and earth-tone paint. Marcus pulled into the parking lot at 3:30 p.m., exactly on schedule. The Saints parked their bikes in a row, removed helmets, checked their appearance with the automatic vanity of men who knew they were representing something larger than themselves. Inside, the smell of disinfectant and age greeted them. The receptionist, Angela, 45, had worked there since the place opened, smiled when she saw them. Right on time, boys. The veterans have been asking about you. We'd never miss Wednesday. Silver's voice carried that cultivated warmth he saved for civilians. How's your mom doing? Last week you said she was having hip surgery. She came through it beautifully. Thank you for asking. Angela's smile widened. Walt's waiting for you in the day room, Marcus. He's been talking about your chess game all week. Marcus made his way through corridors lined with wheelchairs and walkers, past rooms where old men watched daytime television or stared at walls past the nurse's station where staff nodded recognition. The day room sat at the end of the west wing, a large space with windows overlooking gardens and a mountain view that probably cost extra in the architectural plans. Walt Morrison sat in his usual chair near the window, 88 years old and looking like parchment stretched over bone. His eyes, though those were still sharp, the kind of intelligence that hadn't dimmed despite his body's betrayal. He brightened when Marcus entered. Thought you might skip today. Heard there was some excitement at Rosie's. News travels fast. Small town Marcus, everything travels fast. Walt gestured to the chessboard already set up on the table between them. You're white, make your move. Marcus opened with pawn to e4, the standard beginning that Walt always countered with the Sicilian defense. They played in comfortable silence for a few minutes, the click of pieces against board providing rhythm to thought. You look troubled. Walt captured one of Marcus's pawns, more than usual. Saw something today, brought back memories of Katie. Walt's expression softened. Your daughter, the one you lost. 5 years ago, Marcus moved his knight. I made her a promise before she died to protect women like her, women in trouble. You still carrying that guilt? Every day, some days heavier than others. Walt studied the board, but Marcus got the feeling he was studying more than chess positions. Let me tell you something, son. I lost my whole platoon on Iwo Jima. 43 men. I was the only one who made it off that beach alive. For 40 years after I asked myself why. Why me? Why did I survive when better men died? What's the answer? There is no answer. Or maybe the answer is, there doesn't need to be one. But I can choose what I do with the time I got. I can honor them by living well, by trying to be the man they would have wanted me to be. Walt moved his bishop, putting Marcus's king in check. You honor Katie by keeping your promise. That's all any of us can do. Marcus moved his king to safety, but Walt's words had done what the chess moves couldn't. They'd shifted something in his chest, loosened the grip of guilt, just enough to let him breathe. Check, Walt smiled, and mate in 3 moves if you're not careful. How do you always beat me? Because I'm old and I've got nothing but time to think about chess. You've got a whole world distracting you. Walt leaned back. What's really bothering you, Marcus? It's not just memories of Katie. Marcus glanced around the day room. Silver was playing cards with Earl Jackson, both men laughing at some private joke. Hawk had 3 veterans gathered around him, showing pictures on his phone of the motorcycle club's annual ride to Sturgis. Preacher sat with Jimmy Coates listening with the patience of someone who'd learned that sometimes people needed to talk more than they needed answers. Rookie was helping David Chen with physical therapy exercises, the younger veteran gritting his teeth as he worked atrophied muscles. The man who hit Elena today, Marcus said slowly, he had a tattoo, spiderweb on his neck with initials inside, RC 2019, Ryan Castellano. Walt's expression shifted, understanding dawning. The man who killed Katie, his cousin Vincent, and he's connected to Anthony Castellano. The crime boss, yeah. Marcus made a move without thinking, immediately regretted it as Walt's queen swooped in for the kill. Castellano bailed Vincent out, 3 hours after arrest, and now he's filing charges against me, trying to make it look like I was the aggressor. What's he really want? Revenge. I killed Ryan in prison. Well, I arranged it, paid some guys to make it look like a yard fight. Walt didn't look surprised or shocked. He'd been in the Pacific Theater. He knew what men were capable of when pushed far enough. And now Castellano's coming to collect. Looks that way. What are you going to do? I don't know, but I can't let Elena get caught in the crossfire. She's innocent. This is between me and Anthony. The hospital PA system crackled to life. Code Silver. Code Silver. Security to main entrance. Marcus was on his feet before conscious thought kicked in. Code Silver meant armed intruder or credible threat. The other saints converged on him instantly, years of combat experience overriding civilian environment. Stay here, Marcus told the veterans. Lock the door after we leave. They moved through the corridors at a controlled jog, not quite running, but faster than walking. Other staff pressed against walls, letting them pass. The training never left Marcus' thought. Even 20 years after hanging up the uniform, his body remembered how to move in crisis. The main lobby came into view, and Marcus's gut clenched. Vincent Russo stood just inside the automatic doors, flanked by 6 men in matching leather jackets. Security guards, 2 of them both elderly, probably hired more for their presence than any real ability to handle threats, blocked the entrance. Vincent carried a bouquet of flowers, absurd, in his scarred hands, a mockery of apology. He saw Marcus and smiled, the expression predatory. I just came to apologize. Vincent's voice carried across the lobby. Wanted to make things right with that waitress. Where is she? She's not here. Marcus kept his voice level. And you need to leave. This is a public hospital. I got every right to be here. One of the security guards, Hank 67, retired sheriff's deputy, put a hand on Vincent's chest. Sir, you need to leave. You're creating a disturbance. Vincent shoved Hank aside without apparent effort. The old man stumbled, caught himself on the reception desk. The other guard reached for his radio, but one of Vincent's crew stepped forward, hand inside jacket, in that universal signal of concealed weapon. Easy now. Vincent's smile widened. We're not here for trouble. We're here for Marcus Donovan. The automatic doors slid open again. A wheelchair rolled through, pushed by 2 men in expensive suits. The man in the wheelchair is Anthony Castellano, 68 years old and looking every day of it. Oxygen tubes ran from his nose to a portable tank mounted on the back of his chair. But his eyes were sharp, calculating, the eyes of a man who'd built an empire through violence and fear and wasn't ready to relinquish control. Marcus Donovan. Anthony's voice was a rasp, damaged by years of cigarettes and the COPD that now kept him tethered to oxygen. We finally meet face to face. Anthony, come to finish what your nephew started. No. Anthony wheeled himself forward, his attendants staying close. I came to make you an offer. A debt for a debt. I don't owe you anything. Oh, but you do. Anthony's smile was a thin line across his weathered face. You killed Ryan, my sister's son, the boy I raised like my own after his father died. You took him from me. He killed my daughter. He got what he deserved. Prison justice, paid for with my money. Anthony's eyes glittered. $50,000 you borrowed from Dmitry Volkov's crew. Money you never paid back. They sold your debt to me. With interest, with the cost of Ryan's death, you owe me $500,000. Marcus felt the floor tilt. He'd known the debt was out there, had been waiting for it to come due. But hearing the number spoken aloud in a hospital lobby with veterans watching and his brothers at his back made it real in a way it hadn't been before. I don't have that kind of money. I know. So here's my offer. Anthony leaned forward, oxygen tube swaying. You work for me. 7 just high risk, high reward. Maybe you survive them, maybe you don't. But if you do your debts clear, the Iron Saints walk free. I leave you and yours alone. What kind of jobs? The kind that need men who aren't afraid to get their hands dirty. The kind that might get you killed. But you're a dead man anyway if you refuse, so what's the difference? And if I refuse, Anthony's expression didn't change, but something cold slithered into his voice. Then I take payment another way. That pretty little waitress, Elena Reyes. I hear she's got a brother. Tommy, age 14. They'd make excellent collateral. The threat hung in the air like cordite smoke. Marcus felt his hands clench into fists, felt the rage rising hot and immediate in his chest. Behind him, Silver shifted stance, slightly ready to move. Hawk's hand drifted toward his belt. Preacher's jaw tightened. Even Rookie, usually so careful about civilian surroundings, looked ready to throw down. You touch them. You'll what? Anthony's smile widened. Kill me. Go ahead, try. Vincent here has his hand on a gun. So do 4 of my other men. You might get me, but you'll die too. And then who protects Elena and Tommy? No, Marcus. You're going to take my deal, because you're a man who keeps his promises, and you promised your daughter you'd protect women like her. Like Elena. Marcus's phone buzzed. He ignored it. Buzzed again. On the third buzz, he pulled it out, glanced at the screen. Sheriff Tom warrant issued for your arrest. Don't come back to town. Anthony saw Marcus reading. That's right. I've got judges, prosecutors, cops on my payroll. You come at me legally, you lose. You come at me violently, you die. The only way out is through. 7 jobs, 500,000 in debt cleared. Or refuse and watch everyone you care about die screaming. Give me 24 hours. I need to think. You have until Friday, midnight. That's 48 hours. After that, I start collecting. One way or another. Anthony gestured and his attendants began wheeling him toward the exit. Vincent and his crew followed, walking backwards to keep eyes on the Saints. At the doorway, Vincent paused. See you soon, old man. Real soon. They left. The automatic doors slid shut. The lobby fell into shocked silence. Angela, the receptionist, found her voice first. Should I call the police? No. Marcus's voice came out rough. It won't help. Silver moved close, spoke quietly. Boss, we can't work for Castellano. That's everything we fought against. But if we don't, he'll kill Elena and Tommy. Hawk's voice was tight with controlled anger. There has to be another way. Preacher looked at Marcus with eyes that had counseled dying soldiers and knew desperation when he saw it. What if we go to the FBI? Rookie suggested. Witness protection. No. Marcus shook his head. I won't ask Elena to give up her life. I made Katie a promise. I'm keeping it. Then what do we do? Oh. Marcus looked at his brothers. These men who'd ridden with him for decades, who'd fought beside him in wars, both foreign and domestic, who'd never once questioned his leadership, even when his decisions led them into hell. We prepare for war. Elena's apartment occupied the second floor of a converted house on Maple Street, the kind of building that had been nice once and was now just affordable. One bedroom she'd turned into 2 by hanging a sheet down the middle. Her side had a twin mattress and a lamp and her nursing school textbooks. Tommy's side had posters of basketball players and a desk they'd found at Goodwill. The bathroom was down the hall, shared with 3 other tenants. The kitchen was barely large enough for 1 person, let alone 2, but they made it work. 8 p.m. on Wednesday evening, and Elena stood at the stove stirring spaghetti sauce while Tommy did homework at the folding table that served as both desk and dining surface. Algebra from the way his forehead crinkled and his pencil tapped in irregular rhythm against the table. Your face looks better. Tommy glanced up. Does it still hurt? Not much. I'm okay. Those bikers today, they were like superheroes. Elena smiled despite herself. They're just good men, Tommy. Can we be like that? When I grow up, the question caught her off guard. She turned from the stove, studied her brother. 14 years old, trying so hard to be tough, to be the man of the house, even though he was still just a kid. 8 years since their parents died. 8 years of Elena raising him while barely knowing how to raise herself. You already are like that, kiddo. You're the best brother anyone could ask for. Tommy's face scrunched up. But I want to be able to protect you, like those bikers protected you today. I want to be strong enough that nobody ever hurts you. Elena crossed to the table, ruffled his hair in a way he pretended to hate, but secretly loved. You protect me every day just by being here, by being good and kind and doing your homework and making me laugh. That's the most important kind of strength there is. A knock at the door interrupted the moment. Elena checked the peephole, Marcus and Silver both looking serious in that particular way that meant bad news was coming. She opened the door. Is everything okay? No, can we come in? Elena let them in, suddenly conscious of how small the apartment was, how shabby the furniture. Marcus had to duck to clear the doorframe. Silver's eyes swept the space with the automatic assessment of someone who'd learned to evaluate rooms for threats and exits. Tommy stood from the table, protective instincts kicking in despite his age and size. Who are you? These are the bikers from the diner. Marcus and Silver. Elena gestured. Guys, this is my brother Tommy. Marcus extended his hand. Pleased to meet you, Tommy. Your sisters told me you're a good kid. Tommy shook, trying not to look impressed by the size difference. She said you protected her today. We helped, but she protected herself pretty well. Marcus released Tommy's hand, looked at Elena. Can we talk? Maybe Tommy should go to his room. No, Elena kept her voice firm. Whatever this is about affects both of us. Tommy stays. Marcus nodded slowly, respect flickering across his face. Fair enough. The man who hit you today, Vincent Russo, he's out on bail, posted by Anthony Castellano. Who's Anthony Castellano? Crime boss, runs most of the drug and protection rackets in northern Montana. Vincent's his nephew. Marcus paused. And Anthony's coming after me. Why? Because 5 years ago, his other nephew, Ryan, killed my daughter. And I killed Ryan in return. In prison, I paid to have it done. Elena felt the world tilt sideways. You killed someone? Yes, to protect others, to get justice when the law couldn't or wouldn't. Marcus's voice stayed steady, unapologetic. Ryan was out on bail, would have walked on a plea deal. I couldn't let that happen. And now Anthony wants revenge. Elena understood suddenly, the pieces clicking together. That's why Vincent was at the diner. That's why he hit me, because I remind you of Katie. Maybe, or maybe he's just a bully who likes hurting people weaker than him. Either way, Anthony made it clear I'm in debt to him. $500,000, and if I don't pay, he's going to take it out on you and Tommy. Tommy's face went pale. He's going to hurt us. No. Marcus's voice carried absolute certainty. Because I'm not going to let that happen. But I need you both to understand the situation. You're in danger because of me. Because I helped you today. Elena felt anger spark hot in her chest. So what you're saying, you shouldn't have helped, that you should have let Vincent. No, I'm saying I should have been smarter about it. Should have anticipated this, but I didn't, and now you're caught in the middle. What do you want us to do? Elena asked. Run, hide. I can get you into witness protection. FBI, new identities, new city. You'd be safe. For how long? Could be years, until Castellano's arrested or dies. Elena looked at Tommy, saw the fear in his face, but also saw something else, defiance. Her brother didn't want to run any more than she did. No, I won't run. Tommy's got school friends, a life here. I've got work and nursing school applications pending. We can't just disappear because some mobster says so. Silver spoke for the first time. Elena, this isn't about pride. These are dangerous men. Killers. If you stay, then teach me to fight back. Elena's voice came out harder than she intended. Give me a gun. Show me how to protect myself and Tommy. But I'm not leaving. Marcus studied her for a long moment, something like approval glinting in his eyes. You sound like Katie. She was stubborn too. Katie was your daughter. Yeah, and she died because I wasn't there when she needed me most. I was 10 minutes too late. Marcus's voice roughened. I won't be late again. If you stay, you do exactly what I say. Training starts tomorrow morning. 6 a.m., Iron Saints Clubhouse. I'll be there. Elena, Tommy started. No, Tommy, I'm done running from problems. Our whole lives we've run, from foster care, from poverty, from grief. I'm done. We stay. We fight. We survive. Marcus pulled out his phone, showed her an address. This is the clubhouse. You come alone tomorrow, leave Tommy with Miguel at the diner. We'll train you. Firearms, situational awareness, self-defense. You'll learn enough to give yourself a fighting chance. What about Tommy? Preacher will pick him up from school every day, escort him to the diner, stay with him until you're off work. No one touches him while we're watching. Tommy looks simultaneously terrified and excited. Like bodyguards. Like family. Marcus stood. Elena, I need you to understand something. The training will be hard. You'll be sore, exhausted, probably scared. But if you're serious about this, about staying and fighting, then you need to commit fully. I'm serious. Good. Marcus moved toward the door, then paused. One more thing. Keep this with you at all times. He handed her a small canister. Pepper spray. Not much, but better than nothing. And if anything feels wrong, anything at all, you call that number I gave you. Day or night, we come running. After they left, Elena stood at the window watching their motorcycles disappear down Maple Street. Tommy came up beside her. Are you scared? He asked quietly. Terrified, but I'm more scared of living in fear than I am of bad men. That's really brave, Elena. I learned it from you. After Mom and Dad died, you never gave up. You kept going. That's braver than anything. Tommy leaned against her, and they stood there in the gathering dark, two kids who'd already survived so much, preparing to survive more. 11 p.m. at the Iron Saints clubhouse, and the church meeting was in session. The room was oak-paneled and windowless, illuminated by a single light fixture hanging from exposed beams. The walls held photographs spanning 3 decades, brothers who'd died, rides that had become legend, charity events, and funeral processions, and everything in between. At the head of the table sat Marcus, president, patch on his vest, catching the light. To his right, Silver as VP. Hawk, preacher, rookie, filling out the remaining chairs. Brothers, we have a problem. Marcus's voice carried the weight of leadership and something heavier, guilt. Anthony Castellano wants me dead, and he's using innocence as leverage. What's the play? Silver asked. We protect Elena and Tommy, whatever it takes. Castellano's got 40 soldiers. Hawk's voice was pragmatic, no fear, but cold assessment. We're 5 old men. Then we call the other chapters. Bozeman, Billings, Great Falls. Get reinforcements. No, Marcus shook his head. This is my debt, my fight. I won't drag the whole club into war. Rookie leaned forward, his young face serious in a way that made him look older. With respect, Prez, it's not just your fight. Elena's family now. We all saw it today. When family's threatened, we all fight. That's the code. The kid's right. Hawk nodded. We voted you president. That means your fights are our fights. Your debts are our debts. This debt could get you all killed. Then we die for something that matters. Preacher's voice carried the quiet certainty of a man who'd given last rites to dying soldiers and knew exactly what he was risking. I didn't survive Iraq just to grow old and die in my sleep. If my time comes protecting innocence from men like Castellano, that's a good death. Marcus looked at each of his brothers in turn. All in favor of going to war with the Castellano family, raise your hand. 5 hands went up, unanimous. Then we do this right. Marcus stood, moved to a map of Montana tacked to the wall. We train Elena. We fortify the clubhouse. We gather intelligence on Castellano's operations. We find his weaknesses. And when he comes, because he will come, we'll be ready. What about the FBI? Rookie asked. I've got contacts. We could, no feds. Silver's voice was firm. You remember Billings' chapter in 2009. DEA promised immunity. 6 brothers went to prison anyway. We handle this ourselves. Agreed. Marcus returned to his seat. Rookie, you're on intelligence. Track Castellano's movements, properties, known associates. Silver, you handle weapons and ammunition. Make sure we're stocked. Hawk, perimeter security here at the clubhouse. Cameras, sensors, everything. Preacher, you're on Tommy. Pick him up from school every day. Keep him safe. I'll handle Elena's training. What about the warrant for your arrest? Silver asked. You can't show your face in town. Then I don't show my face in town. Elena comes here for training. We keep our heads down until we figure out Castellano's next move. The meeting broke up near midnight. Brothers dispersed to their quarters or their homes, leaving Marcus alone in the church with his thoughts and his guilt. He pulled out his phone, scrolled to a photo he'd taken years ago, Katie at age 8, missing her front tooth, sitting on his motorcycle with a grin that could light up the world. Katie, baby girl, he said to the empty room, I made you a promise. I've kept it as best I could these 5 years. But now I've got a choice, save Elena and Tommy, or save myself. It's not really a choice. I couldn't save you, but I can save them. And if it costs me everything, so be it. Thunder rumbled outside the storm that had been threatening all day, finally arriving. Marcus pulled Katie's necklace from his pocket, the silver cross she'd been wearing when she died, the one thing of hers he'd kept. He put it around his own neck, feeling its weight settle against his chest. Give me strength, baby girl. One more time. Lightning flashed through the high windows. Rain began to hammer the roof. And Marcus sat alone in the dark, preparing for a war he'd started 5 years ago when he chose revenge over justice, violence over law. Now the bill was coming due, and innocence would pay the price unless he could find a way to settle his debts without getting everyone he cared about killed in the process. The storm raged on. Marcus didn't move. He'd spent 5 years running from guilt. Now it was time to stand and face whatever came next, because he'd made a promise to a dying girl, and Marcus Donovan kept his promises. 6 a.m. on Thursday morning arrived cold and gray, the kind of Montana dawn that promised rain before noon. Elena pulled her Honda Civic into the Iron Saints clubhouse, parking lot, gravel, crunching under tires that needed replacing 2 months ago. The building squatted low and defiant against the landscape concrete block, painted black small windows set high in the walls, a steel door that looked like it belonged on a bank vault. The Iron Saints logo, a skull wearing a halo of thorns, glared from the wall above the entrance. Marcus waited outside, 2 coffee cups steaming in his hands. He looked like he hadn't slept, but then again, men like him probably always looked that way. You came. He handed her a cup. I said I would. Most people don't keep promises at 6 a.m. Elena wrapped her hands around the cup, let the heat seep into fingers gone numb from gripping the steering wheel too hard during the drive. I'm not most people. Marcus's mouth twitched in what might have been a smile. No, you're not. Come on, let's get started. The clubhouse interior smelled of leather and motor oil and old wood. The main room held a bar along one wall, pool table in the corner, photographs covering every available surface. Elena recognized younger versions of the Saints mixed with men she'd never seen, brothers who died, she realized, looking at the memorial plaques beneath certain photos. Silver waited in what looked like a converted storage room, now set up as a makeshift shooting range. Hay bales stacked 6 feet high at the far end, paper targets pinned to plywood, a table covered in weapons that made Elena's stomach clench. Ever shoot before? Silver's voice carried that educated precision, like a professor who happened to ride motorcycles and carry guns. My dad took me to a range once, when I was 12. Okay, we'll start with basics. This is a Glock 19, 9mm 15-round magazine, safe action trigger. Silver picked up the pistol, cleared it with practiced efficiency, handed it to Elena. Grip first. Feel the weight. Get comfortable with it in your hands. The gun felt heavier than Elena remembered, more substantial. Not quite alive, but not quite inert either, something with potential energy waiting to be released. Grip high on the back strap, support hand underneath, thumbs forward. Silver demonstrated with his own weapon. You want a firm grip, but not strangling it. The gun's going to recoil. Let it. Don't fight it. Elena adjusted her hands, mimicked his stance. Silver moved behind her, corrected her posture with impersonal efficiency, shoulders forward, knees slightly bent, weight on the balls of her feet. Now press the trigger, don't pull. Smooth, steady pressure straight back. Anticipating recoil is what throws off your aim. Trust the weapon. It'll do what you tell it. The first shot surprised her. The noise, even through ear protection, the sharp crack that punched through her chest. The recoil snapped her wrists up, and the round went high, punching through the top corner of the target 15 yards away. Again, Silver's voice stayed patient. This time focus on the front sight. Everything else blurs out. Just the front sight and smooth trigger press. Elena fired again. Closer to center mass, but still high and right. Again. Again. Her hands started to shake from tension. Sweat beaded on her forehead despite the cool air. You're anticipating. Silver moved beside her. I can see it in your shoulders. You tense up right before the shot. The gun won't hurt you. The noise won't hurt you. Relax and let it happen. 15 rounds later, her grouping had tightened. Not good, but better. 4 rounds in the center mass area, the rest scattered around the torso. Silver reloaded the magazine, handed it back. Keep practicing. I want 200 rounds through that gun this morning. By the time we're done, you'll know it like your own heartbeat. 200 rounds. Elena's hands were bleeding. By round 50, blisters forming where the grip rubbed against soft palms. By round 100, her shoulders screamed and her ears rang despite the protection. By round 150, something shifted. The gun stopped feeling like a foreign object and started feeling like an extension of her hands. The trigger press smoothed out. The recoil became predictable, almost comfortable. At round 200, she put 14 of 15 rounds in center mass. Silver nodded approval. Better. Not great, but better. In a real situation, you won't have time to aim carefully. You point and you shoot and you hope muscle memory takes over. That's what we're building here. Muscle memory. Elena set the gun down, looked at her shaking hands. Blood mixed with powder residue, turning her palms black and red. How long until I'm actually good at this? Years, but you don't need to be good. You just need to be good enough to survive 30 seconds. That's how long most gunfights last. 30 seconds of chaos, then it's over one way or another. Hawk appeared in the doorway. Silver, Marcus needs you. Elena, you're with me. The parking lot had transformed into an obstacle course while she'd been shooting. Cones arranged in patterns, ropes marking boundaries, a van parked at one end with the driver's door hanging open. Situational awareness. Hawk's voice carried that flat affect of someone giving a briefing. You can't win a fight you don't see coming, so you watch. Always. Walk me through this parking lot. Identify the threats. Elena studied the scene. The van, doors open, but I don't see anyone. Could be someone inside waiting. Good, what else? Those cones, they're blocking the most direct path to the exit. I'd have to go around, which takes time. Excellent. What else? Elena scanned the perimeter. A motorcycle with its kickstand down, but engine warm enough to shimmer the air above it. A figure preacher she realized standing near the tree line in a jacket too heavy for the temperature. A car parked across 2 spaces, blocking easy exit. The motorcycle's ready to go. Quick getaway. That guy by the trees is watching us, and that car's deliberately blocking spaces. Hawk's expression didn't change, but something in his eyes acknowledged satisfaction. You're a natural. Most people don't see what's in front of them until it's too late. Now, escape routes. Van's behind you, my truck's in front. Where do you go? Elena turned in a slow circle. Between those 2 bikes there, through that gap, then left toward the road. Open ground, hard to trap me. Why not right? It's closer to your car. Because right takes me toward that blind corner. Someone could be waiting. Left keeps me in sight of the clubhouse, and you'd see if someone grabbed me. Exactly right. Hawk pulling out his phone showed her a photo. This is Anthony Castellano. Memorize his face. He's 68, wheelchair-bound, always has 2 guys with him. If you see him, you run. Don't talk, don't negotiate, just run and call Marcus. Elena studied the photo. Castellano looked like someone's grandfather, wrinkled and harmless in his wheelchair. But his eyes told a different story. Cold calculation, the kind of intelligence that came from decades of hurting people and getting away with it. What about Vincent? Vincent's dangerous because he's angry and stupid. Anthony's dangerous because he's smart and patient. You can maybe outfight Vincent. You can't outthink Anthony. So don't try. They spent the next hour running scenarios. Hawk played attacker, coming at her from different angles while she practiced awareness and evasion. By the end, Elena's legs shook from sprinting and her throat burned from breathing hard. But she'd learned to watch reflections in car windows, to use parked vehicles as obstacles between her and threats, to identify choke points and escape routes without conscious thought. Preacher took over at 8 a.m. If Hawk had taught her to see, Preacher taught her to project. Violence isn't just physical, it's psychological. Preacher sat across from her at a picnic table, the morning sun finally burning through clouds. Predators choose victims who look weak. Your job is to not look weak. Show me how you'd tell Almon to back off. Elena straightened her shoulders. Please leave me alone. No. You sound like prey asking permission. Again, louder. Back off. Better, but still asking. You're not asking, you're telling. Mean it. Elena pulled from somewhere deep, from 8 years of raising Tommy alone, from 3 years of late shifts, and demanding customers and the constant grind of just surviving. Back off. The words came out hard and flat, brooking no argument. Preacher nodded. There it is. You sound like a woman who will fight back. That's 90% of self-defense. Make them believe you're not worth the trouble. He taught her body language, chin up, shoulders back, eye contact that lasted just long enough to show confidence without crossing into challenge. Taught her voice control, how to use volume and tone to project authority. Taught her the psychology of distance, keeping 2 arms lengths between herself and potential threats, positioning herself near exits, never letting anyone box her in. Most attacks are crimes of opportunity. Guy sees a woman alone, looking scared, easy target. If you look hard, if you look aware, he moves on to someone easier. That's what's wearer building made in. Not a fighter, but someone who doesn't look like easy prey. Marcus appeared at 9 a.m., and Elena's brief hope for a break evaporated when she saw the heavy bag hanging from the garage ceiling and the focus mitts on his hands. If they grab you, you've got 3 seconds before they control you completely. Use them. Marcus demonstrated strikes on the heavy bag, palm heel to nose knee to groin heel, stomp to instep. You're not trying to win a fight. You're trying to create distance and run. Hit hard, hit fast, run faster. Elena's hands were wrapped in athletic, tape-padded gloves covering blistered palms. The heavy bag swung from its chain, 60 pounds of resistance that barely moved when she hit it. Harder. You're not trying to annoy them. You're trying to break bones. Elena struck again, throwing her whole body into it. The bag swung 6 inches. Better. Again. 20 more times. 20 times became 50, became 100. Her shoulders burned. Her knuckles ached despite the padding. Sweat soaked through her shirt, dripped into her eyes. But the bag swung farther with each hit, and something fierce and hot kindled in her chest. Not just fear anymore, but anger. Anger at Vincent for hitting her. Anger at Castellano for threatening Tommy. Anger at a world that made women learn to fight just to exist safely. The 100th strike rocked the bag hard enough to make its chain rattle. Good. Marcus caught the bag, stopped its swing. Your hands are bleeding again. Let's wrap them better. He unwound the tape gentle, despite his size-revealed palms that had gone from blistered to raw. Elena hissed when he applied antiseptic but didn't pull away. Pain is weakness leaving the body. Marcus rewrapped her hands with fresh tape, his movements practiced. You're doing good, Elena. Better than most people would after 6 hours. I don't feel like I'm doing good. I feel like I'm barely surviving. That's what good looks like. Nobody's born knowing this stuff. You learn it through pain and practice and getting back up when you want to quit. He finished the wrap, met her eyes. Katie went through something similar. After the first time Ryan hit her, she took a self-defense class, learned enough to give herself confidence. But confidence isn't the same as skill, and skill takes time we didn't have. How long did you have? 3 years, from his first hit to the night he killed her. 3 years of her swearing she'd leave, then staying. 3 years of me offering to help her, saying she could handle it. 3 years of mistakes we both made. Marcus stood, moved to stare out the garage door at the mountains in the distance. If I'd pushed harder, if I'd made her leave, instead of waiting for her to be ready, maybe she'd still be alive. Or maybe he'd have killed her sooner. Marcus turned back, something raw in his expression. What? Men like Ryan, men like Vincent, they don't let go just because someone leaves. They escalate. They track you down. Sometimes leaving makes it worse, not better. Elena flexed her wrapped hands, testing the tightness. Katie stayed because she was scared. But maybe she also stayed because she knew leaving wouldn't keep her safe. Maybe there was no right choice, just bad options and worse ones. The silence stretched long enough that Elena wondered if she'd said too much, crossed some line. Then Marcus's shoulders dropped, tension bleeding out. I never thought of it that way. Because you're a man who fixes problems with action. But some problems can't be fixed that way. Sometimes you can do everything right and still lose. Elena stood, faced him directly. You couldn't save Katie, but you can save me and Tommy. So stop carrying guilt for something you couldn't control and focus on what you can. Marcus studied her for a long moment, and Elena saw him reassess, saw her shift in his mind from victim to something else. Allie, maybe, or student, or the daughter he'd lost given a second chance at redemption. Okay, he nodded. Let's keep going. They trained until noon when Rookie appeared with takeout from Rosie's Miguel. Had insisted on sending lunch, wouldn't take payment, said Elena was family now. They ate on the clubhouse porch sandwiches and pie and coffee strong enough to strip paint. Elena's hands shook so badly she could barely hold her cup. First day's always the hardest. Silver sat beside her, his own sandwich forgotten. Tomorrow you'll be sore in places you didn't know you had muscles. Day after that, it gets easier. How many days until I'm actually competent? Define competent. Able to protect myself and Tommy without you guys. Silver considered that. If Castellano comes at you with overwhelming force, all the training in the world won't matter. But if it's Vincent alone or one of his crew trying to grab Tommy, 2 weeks of daily training gives you fighting odds. A month gives you better than even. 3 months, you are genuinely dangerous. We don't have 3 months. No, we've got 43 hours until Castellano's deadline. Silver checked his watch. Friday midnight. Then all hell breaks loose one way or another. Elena set down her sandwich, appetite gone. What happens at midnight? Either Marcus agrees to work for Castellano, or Castellano comes for you and Tommy. Silver's voice stayed matter-of-fact, no sugarcoating. Marcus won't agree, so Castellano will move. Question is whether we're ready when he does. Rookie's phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen, frowned, stood, and walked out of earshot. When he returned, his face had gone pale. Boss, we got a problem. Tommy didn't show up at school today. Elena was on her feet before conscious thought. What, I dropped him off at 7:30. Principal's office called. Tommy's marked absent. First period teacher never saw him. The world tilted sideways. Elena grabbed the porch rail, felt splinters bite into her raw palms. Where is he? Did Castellano? Hawk's already on his way to the school. Marcus pulled out his phone, speed dialed. Silver, get to Elena's apartment, check if Tommy went home. Preacher sweep Tommy's usual hangouts, library, arcade park. Rookie with me. Elena, you stay here. No, he's my brother. I'm coming. Elena, I said I'm coming. Elena's voice came out harder than intended, but she didn't soften it. You don't get to protect me by keeping me in the dark. Tommy's my responsibility. I'm coming. Marcus looked like he wanted to argue, then nodded. Okay, but you stay close to me. No heroics. They rode to Pinewood High School in Marcus's truck, Elena, in the passenger seat, gripping the door handle hard enough to leave marks. Her mind raced through possibilities, each worse than the last. Tommy grabbed on the way into school. Tommy lured away by someone claiming to know Elena. Tommy hurt or scared or calling for her while she'd been training to protect him and failing anyway. The school parking lot held maybe 20 cars, most belonging to staff. Marcus pulled in near the main entrance, killed the engine. Hawk's motorcycle was already there, the man himself standing near the double doors talking to a woman in business casual, the principal, Elena realized. Miss Reyes. Principal Hayes looked genuinely concerned, which somehow made it worse. I'm so sorry. Tommy signed himself out at 8:15 a.m. That's impossible. I watched him walk through those doors. Hayes pulled out a clipboard, showed the sign-out sheet. The signature read Elena Reyes in handwriting that looked close to hers but wasn't quite right. Too neat, too practiced, the E slightly wrong. Who authorized this? Marcus's voice carried weight, the kind that made administrators nervous. Our security guard, Mr. Kowalski, but he called in sick this morning. I tried his cell phone, but it goes straight to voicemail. Marcus and Hawk exchanged a look, some silent communication passing between them. Kowalski's on Castellano's payroll. Hawk's voice was flat, certain. This was planned. They grabbed Tommy using a forged note and an inside man. Elena felt her knees go weak. Marcus caught her elbow, steadied her with surprising gentleness for such a large man. Where would they take him? Her voice came out small, scared, nothing like the confident tone Preacher had spent 2 hours teaching her to project. Castellano owns properties all over the county. Rookie pulled out his phone, scrolled through something. Warehouses, storage units, farms. Without more intel. Hawk's phone rang. He answered, listened, his expression going harder with each second. Copy. On our way. He ended the call, looked at Marcus. Silver found Tommy's backpack behind the school dumpsters. No sign of struggle. Looks like Tommy went voluntarily. There's a note. They found Silver in the alley behind the school, Tommy's familiar blue backpack open on the ground. Inside, textbooks, dead cell phone pencil case, and a handwritten note on lined paper torn from a spiral notebook. Elena's hands shook as she read it. Tommy doesn't play football. Coach Richards retired last year. He would have known this was fake, unless he wanted to believe it. Preacher had arrived, his motorcycle still ticking from the ride. 14-year-old boy, someone tells him a coach wants to see him about sports. That's validation. That's belonging. Easy to fool someone when you're offering them something they want. Marcus pulled out his phone. It rang twice before Elena heard a voice answer tinny through the speaker. I wondered when you'd call. Anthony Castellano sounded amused, which made Elena want to claw his eyes out through the phone. Where's the boy, Anthony? Safe for now, eating a sandwich. He likes turkey, doesn't he? With mustard, no mayo. Good kid, polite, said please and thank you when I offered him lunch. Let him go, this is between us. Oh, but it is between us. That's the whole point. Castellano's voice hardened. You have until Friday midnight. 41 hours now. Bring me $500,000 in cash or the boy takes a swim in the Yellowstone River. Winter water's cold, Marcus. Body might not surface until spring. I don't have that money. Then get it. I don't care how. Rob a bank. Sell drugs. Mortgage your clubhouse. I don't care. Background noise, muffled voice. Tommy's voice saying something Elena couldn't make out. Oh, the boy wants to talk to his sister. How sweet. There was rustling. Then Tommy's voice came through the phone, scared but trying to sound brave. Elena, I'm okay. They haven't hurt me. I'm sorry, I thought I was meeting Coach Richards about... The phone changed hands again. See, he's fine for now. Friday midnight, Marcus. The old meatpacking plant on River Road. You know it. Come alone. Cash only. No cops, no FBI, no brothers. Just you. Or the boy dies. The call ended. Elena grabbed the phone from Marcus's hand, tried to call back. It went straight to voicemail, number blocked or phone destroyed. She tried again. Again. Her hands shook so hard she dropped the phone. Silver caught it before it hit the ground. This is my fault, Elena's voice cracked. I should have walked him to class. I should have... This is not your fault. Marcus gripped her shoulders, forced her to meet his eyes. Castellano's a predator. He'd have found a way no matter what you did. This is on him, not you. How do we get $500,000 in 41 hours? We don't. Silver's voice was grim. Clubhouse equity is maybe 180. Our bikes and gear another 100. We're 220 short even if we liquidate everything. What about other chapters? Preacher suggested. Bozeman Billings. No, Marcus shook his head. I won't put that debt on the Brotherhood. This is my problem. Then what do we do? Uh-oh. Elena heard the edge of hysteria creeping into her voice, fought to push it down. We can't just let him kill Tommy. We don't pay. Elena was surprised to hear her own voice saying the words calm and cold and certain. We take him back. Everyone looked at her. Castellano has 40 soldiers. Hawk's voice was patient, explaining to a civilian. Tommy's being held somewhere with guard security. We don't even know where. The meatpacking plant. River Road. He said it himself. That's where he wants Marcus to deliver the money. Doesn't mean that's where Tommy is now. Elena closed her eyes, tried to think through the panic. No, it makes sense. Why move Tommy twice? Why risk another transport where something could go wrong? They grabbed him this morning, took him straight to the plant. He's there now. They're just waiting. Marcus studied her, something calculating in his expression. You might be right. I know the plant. Elena opened her eyes, met his gaze. I applied for a job there 3 years ago. They gave me a tour before telling me they weren't hiring. I remember some of the layout. Can you draw it? Back at the clubhouse, Elena sketched from memory on a large sheet of paper spread across the bar. The main floor offices on the second level, cold storage rooms, in back loading docks on the east side. Not perfect, but better than going in blind. Rookie studied the sketch, pulled up satellite imagery on his laptop. This matches what I'm seeing from overhead. Big building, lots of cover. Multiple entry points. How many guards? Marcus asked. I counted 8 outside when I rode past yesterday. Silver had done reconnaissance without being asked, which Elena was learning was just how these men operated, always planning, always preparing. Assume double that inside, call it 20 total. Against 5 of us. Hawk's voice stayed neutral. Those are bad odds. We've faced worse. Marcus pulled out his own phone, scrolled through something. We hit them Friday at 0200. Zero dark 30 guards are tired, attention is low. Fast in extract, Tommy fast out. What about Castellano's deadline Friday midnight? We moved the timeline, hit them 10 hours early before they expect it. Preacher frowned. That gives us, he checked his watch, 37 hours to plan and prep. Not much time. It's what we have. Marcus looked at each of his brothers in turn. I need you to understand something. This op is voluntary. I'm not ordering anyone. If you want to sit this out, no judgment. But if you come, there's a real chance you die. Castellano's people are professional killers. This isn't some bar fight. This is urban warfare against a numerically superior force. Silence filled the clubhouse. Then Silver pushed back from the bar, stood. I ride with you. Hawk stood. I ride with you. Preacher stood. I ride with you. Rookie stood. I ride with you. Marcus's jaw tightened, emotion flickering across his face before he locked it down. Then we prep. Rookie, you're on intel. Floor plans, security systems, anything you can find. Silver, weapons and ammunition. Combat load for each of us. Hawk, your overwatch. Find a position with sight lines on the plant. Preacher, medical. Full trauma kit, you're our combat lifesaver if things go sideways. What about me? Elena's voice cut through the planning. You stay here. Tommy's going to need you when we bring him home. No. Why? Elena planted her feet, used the body language Preacher had taught her. I'm coming with you. Elena, you've had 6 hours of training. These are professional killers. Then give me a job that doesn't require me to fight. I'll stay with Hawk on Overwatch. I can spot, handle comms, watch for threats you might miss. She's right. Hawk spoke up, unexpected support. I need a spotter anyway. And if something goes wrong, extra pair of hands could make the difference. Marcus looked ready to argue, then stopped, something shifting in his expression. Recognition, maybe. Understanding that Elena wasn't asking for permission, she was telling him how this would work. Fine, but you follow Hawk's orders exactly. No heroics, no risks. You're there to observe and communicate, nothing else. Understood. The rest of Thursday blurred into preparation. Rookie pulled building permits and utility maps, overlaid them with Elena's sketch until they had a working floor plan. Silver inventoried weapons, pistols, shotguns, rifles, ammunition, counted and distributed. Hawk studied satellite imagery and street views, identified a parking garage 200 yards north with sight lines to the plant. Preacher assembled the trauma kit with the grim efficiency of someone who'd used such equipment in combat. Elena watched, listened, learned. Learned the language of tactical planning. LPOP for listening post and observation post. For rules of engagement. Exfil for exfiltration routes. Learned how these men who seemed so relaxed and easygoing transformed into something else when violence became necessary. Focused, professional, every movement economic and purposeful. Night fell. Miguel called to check on Elena, said the diner was handling her shifts, not to worry about work. Mrs. Patterson had come by asking about her, said to take all the time she needed. The town, it seemed, had decided Elena and Tommy were worth protecting. At midnight, Marcus called a final briefing. The map spread across the pool table, marked with entry points and rally points in danger areas. 5 motorcycles and 1 truck parked outside, ready for the 2 a.m. departure. Everyone dressed in dark clothing, body armor, strapped over t-shirts, old flak vests from Vietnam, not modern ceramic plates, but better than nothing. Last chance to back out. Marcus's gaze swept his brothers. What we're about to do is illegal. Assault, kidnapping, probably a dozen other charges. If we get caught, we go to prison. If we get killed, our families suffer. But if we succeed, Tommy comes home. That's the only thing that matters. Questions? No one spoke. Then get some rest. We move in 7 hours. Elena tried to sleep in one of the clubhouse's spare rooms, but her mind wouldn't stop racing. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Tommy's face. Scared. Alone. Calling for her. She got up, moved to the main room where she found Marcus sitting alone at the bar staring at a photograph. Can't sleep either. She approached slowly, giving him space to tell her to leave if he wanted privacy. Never sleep before an op. Learn that in Vietnam. Try to sleep, you just lie there thinking about everything that could go wrong. He gestured to the photo. This was Katie, 8 years old, first time I let her sit on my bike. Elena looked at the picture. Katie had Marcus's eyes and her mother's smile, that particular combination of features that made someone beautiful without being conventionally pretty. The girl in the photo radiated joy, pure and uncomplicated. She looks happy. She was. That was before her mother and I divorced, before Ryan, before everything went wrong. Marcus set the photo down. You know what the worst part is? I have maybe 10 memories of her being truly happy. 10 moments I can point to and say, that was when Katie was really genuinely happy. But I have 1,000 memories of her crying, scared, needing help. Why do the bad memories outnumber the good ones so badly? Because pain burns deeper than joy. Evolution maybe. We're wired to remember threats more than rewards. That's not fair. No, it's not. Elena sat on the bar stool beside him. After my parents died, I had the same problem. Couldn't remember mom's laugh without remembering the sound of the police knocking on the door. Couldn't remember dad teaching me to ride a bike without remembering standing at his grave. Took me years to separate the good memories from the trauma. How'd you do it? I wrote them down. Every good memory I put in a journal. Made myself recall them deliberately, detail by detail, until they felt real again instead of just ghosts. Elena pulled out her phone, showed him a note titled, Dad Teaching Me to Shoot. This is from that day at the range. I wrote it when I was 16, 4 years after he died. Wrote every detail I could remember, the smell of gunpowder, the weight of the rifle, the way he stood behind me with his hands over mine showing me how to breathe. Now, when I think about that day, I remember the good parts first. The trauma's still there, but it's not the only thing. Marcus took her phone, read the note slowly. When he looked up, his eyes were wet. Thank you for that, for reminding me there were good times worth remembering. Katie loved you. You know that, right? Even at the end, even when she was hurt and scared, she loved you. That's why she called you when she needed help, because she knew you'd come. I came too late, but you came. That's what mattered to her. Elena took back her phone, met his eyes. And you're coming for Tommy. That matters too. Maybe you can't save Katie, but you can save him. That's not nothing, Marcus. That's everything. They sat in silence for a while, two people bound by grief and determination, waiting for dawn to come, so they could ride into darkness and try to pull something good from the wreckage of broken promises. At 1:30 a.m., the Iron Saints began final preparations. Weapons loaded, magazines checked, body armor adjusted. Hawk loaded his truck with gear, while Elena double-checked the radio equipment. Rookie reviewed the tactical plan one last time. Silver distributed ammunition with the precision of a quartermaster who'd done this too many times. Preacher said a quiet prayer, his lips moving silently, asking God for protection or forgiveness, or maybe just the strength to do what needed doing. At 1:55, Marcus gathered them in a circle. Brothers, in 5 minutes, we ride to war. Some of us might not come back. So I want to say now it's been an honor. You're not just my club. You're my family. And I love you. We get Tommy. Silver's voice was firm. We all come home. That's the only outcome I'm accepting. Preacher spoke next, his chaplain training surfacing. Lord, grant us courage for the battle ahead. Protect the innocent. And if it's our time, let it be for something that matters. Amen. Amen. The word echoed from 5 throats. Elena added her own voice, surprising herself. Amen. 2 a.m. Engines roared to life in the pre-dawn darkness. 5 motorcycles and 1 truck pulled out of the clubhouse parking lot in formation, heading south on back roads toward River Road and the meatpacking plant where Tommy waited, scared and alone but not abandoned. Never abandoned. Because the Iron Saints were coming and they never left anyone behind. The night swallowed them and the war began. The meatpacking plant squatted against the night sky like a tombstone, 3 stories of rusted corrugated metal and broken windows that hadn't seen legitimate business in 15 years. River Road ran past it, dark and empty, the kind of industrial wasteland where screams wouldn't carry and bodies could disappear into the Yellowstone River half a mile downstream. 2:14 a.m. according to the dashboard clock in Hawk's truck, and Elena watched through binoculars from the parking garage 200 yards north, her breath fogging in the cold air. 6 guards visible outside the plant, 2 at the main entrance smoking cigarettes, their rifles slung casual across shoulders. 2 more walking the perimeter in opposite directions, meeting at corners turning back. Another 2 positioned at the loading docks on the east side, sitting on plastic chairs playing cards under a single bare bulb that threw harsh shadows. Count confirmed. Hawk's voice stayed low even though they were alone. 6 outside. Intel said 20 total, so assume 14 inside. Elena adjusted the scope, trying to see through the grimy windows on the second floor. Movement shadows, but nothing clear enough to identify. Can you get a thermal reading? Not from here. Too much interference from the building's residual heat. Hawk checked his own scope, a military-grade thermal unit that showed heat signatures as bright white against dark background. But I'm seeing multiple signatures, second floor north wing. Best guess, that's where they're holding Tommy. Elena's hands tightened on the binoculars. Somewhere in that building, Tommy was scared and alone, probably tied to a chair or locked in a room, wondering if anyone was coming for him. 14 hours since he'd been taken. 14 hours of fear for a kid who'd already survived too much loss. The radio crackled. Marcus's voice barely above whisper. Charlie Alpha. We're in position at East Entry Point. Status, Hawk keyed his mic. Alpha Charlie. 6 hostiles outside positions marked on your TAC display. Second floor north wing shows multiple heat signatures. Probable location of package. Copy. Bravo, you in position. Silver's voice came through. Affirmative. West service entrance ready to breach on your mark. Rookie preacher status. South side secured. Rookie sounded calm professional. No movement, ready to provide covering fire if needed. Elena watched through the binoculars as Marcus and Hawk's positions converged on the loading docks. 2 shadows detached from the darkness, moving with the practiced silence of men who'd done this in jungles, in deserts, in urban hellscapes across 3 continents. The guards at the loading dock didn't look up from their card game. Marcus's hand came down fast, some kind of chokehold Elena had seen demonstrated but never actually witnessed. The guard went limp in seconds. Hawk took the second guard the same way, both men laid out silent on the concrete. No shots fired, no alarms raised. Alpha breaching now. The loading dock door had a padlock that looked substantial, but yielded to bolt cutters in 3 seconds. The door swung open on hinges Marcus must have oiled because they made no sound. Darkness swallowed the 2 men. Elena forced herself to breathe, to stay focused on her job. Overwatch, communications. She scanned the perimeter through her scope, looking for threats the team inside might miss. The 2 guards walking the perimeter continued their pattern, unaware their brothers at the loading dock were unconscious. The guards at the main entrance stubbed out cigarettes, lit new ones, talked about something that made them laugh. Bravo breaching west entrance. Through the scope, Elena saw Silver and Preacher at the service door. Silver worked the lock with Pick's old-school technique that took 40 seconds but made no noise. The door opened. They slipped inside and Elena lost visual. Charlie Alpha, interior is dark, limited visibility. Multiple rooms, looks like old processing floor. Heading to north stairwell. Copy Alpha. Hawk's voice stayed steady, but Elena heard the tension underneath. This was the dangerous part inside the building. No sight lines, every corner a potential ambush. The radio crackled with Silver's voice. Bravo, in position, first floor, main corridor. 2 hostiles ahead unaware. Taking them now. Elena counted seconds. 5, 10, 15. Silver's voice came back. 2 down, non-lethal. Advancing. Alpha reaching stairwell. Movement above at least 3 hostiles on second floor landing. Marcus's voice disappeared, replaced by the sound of controlled violence. Grunts impact, someone hitting a wall hard enough to rattle the building's metal frame. Then silence for a small eternity. Alpha clear. 3 down. Second floor access secure. Elena's heart hammered against her ribs. She swept the exterior again with binoculars. The perimeter guards continued their pattern. The main entrance guards remained oblivious. But something nagged at her, some detail wrong. Hawk, the van. What van? Elena pointed. There. Southeast corner of the building. White panel van wasn't there 5 minutes ago. Just appeared. Hawk swung his thermal scope toward the van. His breath hissed between his teeth. 4 heat signatures inside, armed. They're setting up an ambush. He keyed the radio. All units, Charlie. 4 hostiles in white van southeast corner, armed and waiting. Looks like a rapid response team. Marcus's voice came back tight. Copy. Proceeding to target. Bravo, can you flank that van? Negative, wrong position. We'd have to cross open ground. Then we move fast. Alpha entering cold storage wing now. Elena pressed her eye to the binoculars watching the van. One door opened slowly. A figure emerged carrying something long and heavy rifle, definitely military grade. The figure took position behind a dumpster with clear sight line to the loading dock entrance. Alpha, you've got a sniper covering your exit, southeast behind the dumpster. Acknowledged, we're committed now. Moving to extract package. The seconds stretched like taffy. Elena's hands shook from adrenaline in the effort of holding the binoculars steady. Hawk had his rifle up scope, tracking the sniper behind the dumpster, but at 200 yards in darkness, the shot was borderline impossible. Contact! Marcus's voice exploded through the radio. Multiple hostiles, second floor. Taking fire. The night erupted. Muzzle flashes lit up the second floor windows like strobe lights. The distinctive crack of rifle fire echoed across the industrial wasteland. The guards at the main entrance grabbed their weapons, started running toward the building. The perimeter guards converged on the loading dock. Charlie engaging exterior hostiles. Hawk's rifle barked once, twice. Through the binoculars, Elena saw one perimeter guard drop, then the second. Clean shot center mass, both men down before they knew they were being targeted. The sniper behind the dumpster fired toward the loading dock. Sparks flew from metal, and Marcus's voice came through strained. Alpha pinned down second floor north corridor. Heavy resistance, can't reach package. Bravo moving to support. Silver's voice carried the sound of running footsteps. Preacher with me. Rookie cover R6. More gunfire this time from inside the building. Elena couldn't see anything, could only listen to the chaos on the radio and watch helplessly as the tactical situation deteriorated. The van disgorged its other 3 occupants, all armed, all moving toward the building with professional efficiency. Hawk, the van team is heading to the south entrance. I see them. Hawk fired twice more. One figure dropped. The other 2 scattered, taking cover. Can't get a clean shot on the rest. Alpha, we're through. I see the room. Steel door keypad. Lock, 1 hostile outside. The sound of a gunshot close and loud enough to distort the radio mic. Then Marcus's voice. Hostile down. Breaching door. Elena held her breath. This was it. Tommy was behind that door. Had to be. Doors locked. 4-digit code. Hawk, I need options. Try 1178. It's the plant's old security code from when they were operational. Elena heard beeping through the radio, then a mechanical click. Negative, wrong code. Try 2259. More beeping. Negative. Silver's voice cut in. We're taking fire from below. Multiple hostiles ascending south stairwell. Can't hold them long. Blow the door. Marcus's voice carried finality. Rookie, you got any C4 left? Affirmative, but I'm pinned down first floor. Can't get to you. Then I'm kicking it in. The sound that came through the radio was pure destruction. Impact metal shrieking something heavy, hitting something solid over and over. On the 4th impact, the sound changed. The door gave way. I'm in. Tommy. Elena's breath caught. Tommy's voice came through, faint but clear. Marcus, how did you? No time. Can you walk? Yeah, I can walk. Stay between me and Hawk. We're leaving. Now. But the radio erupted with Silver's voice urgent and sharp. Alpha, be advised. 8 hostiles blocking north stairwell. You're cut off. What about south stairwell? Negative, we're fighting our way up from there now. 6 more hostiles engaged. It's a goddamn hornet's nest. Marcus's voice went quiet for 3 seconds that felt like years. Then west side, there's a fire escape on the west wall 2nd floor. We go out the window. Alpha, that drops you into the kill zone. The van team will have clear shots. Then you better make sure they're not looking our way when we jump. Hawk was already moving, repositioning to get angles on the van team. Elena grabbed the 2nd rifle, a Remington 700 that Hawk had brought. His backup checked that it was loaded, brought it to her shoulder the way Silver had taught her 8 hours ago. What are you doing? Hawk glanced at her, providing covering fire. Elena, I've put 200 rounds through a gun today. I know how to point and shoot. That's all this is. Elena found the van team through the scope. Two figures visible, one behind a concrete barrier, one crouched near a loading door. Tell me when. Hawk keyed his radio. Alpha Charlie. On my mark, we light up the van team. You run for that fire escape, you don't stop for anything. Mark in 3, 2, 1. Mark, Hawk's rifle barked 3 times fast. Elena found the figure behind the concrete barrier in her scope, took the breath the way Silver had taught her, squeezed the trigger smooth and steady. The rifle kicked against her shoulder. She had no idea if she hit anything, but the figure ducked behind cover, which was good enough. Through the binoculars, she saw movement at a second-floor window. Marcus appeared first, Tommy right behind him. Then they were both out the window, dropping to the fire escape. Return fire from below. Sparks flying from metal. Marcus shielded Tommy with his body moving down the stairs in a controlled fall. The van team had recovered, were bringing their weapons up. Hawk fired again, forcing them back behind cover. Elena aimed at the loading door where she'd seen movement, fired twice, working the bolt between shots like Hawk had shown her. The figure there went to ground. Marcus and Tommy hit the bottom of the fire escape, dropped the last 6 feet to concrete. They ran for the loading dock, 50 yards of open ground with no cover. The sniper behind the dumpster stood, rifle coming to his shoulder. Hawk's shot caught the sniper high in the chest, spinning him back. The rifle fell from his hands. He went down and stayed down. Alpha clear. Package secure. Heading to rally point. Relief flooded Elena's chest, but Hawk's expression stayed grim. That's not all of them. Where are the other 10 hostiles? His answer came through the radio, Silver's voice breathless from fighting. West entrance compromised. Multiple hostiles flooding in. We need to exfil now. Bravo, fall back to south entrance. Rookie preacher, cover their withdrawal. The gunfire intensified. Elena watched through binoculars as muzzle flashes lit up multiple windows. The building had become a war zone, and Silver and his team were trapped inside. We can't leave them. Elena heard her own voice, surprised by how steady it sounded. We're not. Hawk was already moving, breaking down his rifle packing gear. Get in the truck, we're going closer. They drove fast, lights off, using ambient street light to navigate. Hawk pulled the truck to a stop behind a concrete barrier, 50 yards from the south entrance. Through the windshield, Elena saw Rookie and Preacher laying down, covering fire, while 2 figures ran from the building, Silver and someone else, maybe one of Castellanos' men Silver had grabbed as a shield. No, not a shield. The man's hands were zip-tied. A prisoner. They piled into the truck bed, Rookie still firing back at pursuing hostiles. Hawk punched the accelerator tires, screaming on asphalt. Bullets sparked off concrete barriers behind them. Then they were clear, running dark through industrial streets while sirens wailed in the distance. The rally point was an abandoned gas station 2 miles south, far enough from the meatpacking plant that cops responding to gunfire wouldn't stumble across them. Marcus's motorcycle was already there, Tommy sitting on the curb wrapped in Marcus's leather vest, looking shell-shocked but alive. Elena was out of the truck before it stopped moving. She grabbed Tommy, pulled him into a hug so fierce he gasped. Are you okay? Did they hurt you? I'm okay. They just kept me in a room, gave me food, didn't hit me or anything. Tommy's voice shook. But I thought I'd never see you again. I promised I'd find you. Elena pulled back, checked him over with her hands. No visible injuries, no blood. I keep my promises. Marcus approached and the dynamic shifted. Tommy stood, faced the big biker with something like awe. You came for me. You didn't even know me, but you came. That's what we do. Marcus's voice was gentle. We protect people. That's the oath we took when we became Iron Saints. Silver dragged the zip-tied prisoner from the truck bed. The man hit the ground, hard groaned. In the dim light of the gas station's security lamp, Elena recognized him, one of the guards from the meatpacking plant, maybe 30 years old, trying hard to look tough despite the plastic restraints and the blood leaking from his nose. Who's this? Marcus asked. Joey Mancini, low-level enforcer, but he was chatty once we explained his options. Silver pulled Joey to his feet, not gentle about it. Tell them what you told me. Joey spat blood. I ain't telling you nothing. Silver pulled out his phone, showed Joey something on the screen. Elena couldn't see it, but whatever it was made Joey's face go pale. That's your house, your wife Maria, your kids Sophia and Lucas. 8 and 6 years old, right? Beautiful family. Silver's voice stayed conversational, which somehow made it more terrifying. You cooperate, they stay safe. You don't, well, accidents happen. You wouldn't try me. Joey's resistance crumbled. Okay. What do you want to know? Where's Anthony Castellano? The plant. He's still there. Saw the whole thing go down from his office on the third floor. Joey swallowed hard. He's pissed, real pissed. Said you made him look weak stealing the kid back. Said he's going to make an example. Example of what? You, the Saints, everyone who helped. He's putting a contract out. 100 grand for your head, Marcus. 50 for each of your brothers. 25 for the girl and the kid. Elena felt ice slide down her spine. $250,000 in bounties. Every criminal in Montana would be looking for them. When's the contract going live? Marcus asked. Sunrise. He's spreading the word now. By 6 a.m., everyone in the network will know. Joey's eyes darted between the Saints. You guys are dead. You know that, right? Can't run from that kind of money. Someone will collect. Marcus looked at his brothers. Something passed between them, that silent communication built on decades of writing together. Then Marcus turned back to Joey. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to call your wife. Tell her to pack bags for the kids. Tell her to drive to her sister's place in Idaho. Tell her to stay there until this is over. You understand? If I run, Anthony will know I talked. If you stay, you'll die in the crossfire. Your choice, Joey considered for maybe 5 seconds. Let me call her. Silver cut the zip ties handed over Joey's phone. They watched while he made the call, voice shaking as he told Maria to run, not to ask questions, just go. When he finished, Marcus took the phone, checked the call log to make sure he'd actually dialed his wife, then handed it back. Go. Get out of Montana. Don't come back until Castellano's in prison or dead. Joey ran, disappearing into the darkness on foot. Smart enough not to ask for a ride, smart enough to know his life depended on distance and speed. Hawk checked his watch. 4:15 a.m., 90 minutes until that contract goes live. We need to disappear. We can't disappear. Elena heard herself speaking before conscious thought. If we run, we're running forever, looking over our shoulders, waiting for the bullet. That's not living. The alternative is war. Silver's voice was grim. In war with every criminal element in the state. We're 5 men, Elena. Even Iron Saints can't fight those odds. Then we end it tonight. Elena looked at Marcus. You said Castellano's still at the plant. We know where he is. We go back, we finish this. Elena, that's suicide. We barely got out the first time and we had surprise. Now they're alert, reinforced, waiting for us. Not all of us, just me and Marcus. Everyone stared at her. Anthony wants Marcus. He said, come alone, right? So Marcus goes. But I come too, not as backup. As bait. Absolutely not. Marcus's voice carried finality. Listen, Anthony threatened me and Tommy to get to you. That makes me part of this. And he's expecting you to play by his rules. Show up Friday at midnight, beg for mercy, get killed. But what if we flip it? What if we show up now before dawn, before his contract goes live? We walk in, we negotiate, and while we're talking, the rest of you hit from outside. Surprise again. Preacher shook his head. That's using you as a hostage. The moment you walk in there, you're dead. Maybe. Or maybe Anthony's ego won't let him kill me without gloating first. Men like him, they want their victims to know they lost. They need that moment of triumph. Elena looked at Tommy. I'm sorry, I know this is scary, but if we don't end this tonight, we're running forever. And I promised you we'd never run again. Tommy's face was pale, but he nodded. Do what you have to do. I trust you. Marcus pulled Elena aside out of earshot of the others. You don't have to do this. We can run, disappear. I know places. No, Elena cut him off. Running didn't save Katie. Running doesn't save anyone. You taught me that today. You taught me to stand and fight, so that's what I'm doing. Katie didn't have a choice. You do. No, I don't, because if I run, Tommy runs with me. And he deserves better than a life spent hiding. He deserves to go to school, have friends, be a normal kid. The only way that happens is if Castellano's not a threat anymore. Marcus studied her for a long moment, and Elena saw the calculation happening behind his eyes. weighing risks, measuring odds, coming to whatever conclusion his decades of combat experience led him to. Okay, we do it your way, but you follow my lead exactly. The moment things go sideways, you run. You don't try to be a hero, you just run. Agreed. They spent 30 minutes planning. Silver and Rookie would approach from the south, create a distraction. Hawk would reposition with his rifle, take out anyone who tried to stop Marcus and Elena from entering. Preacher would stay with Tommy at the rally point, be ready for emergency medical if needed. And Marcus and Elena would walk into the meatpacking plant, into the lion's den, betting their lives on Anthony Castellano's ego being bigger than his caution. At 4:50 a.m., they rolled back toward the plant. The sky was just beginning to lighten in the east, that pre-dawn gray that made everything look washed out and unreal. The meatpacking plant loomed ahead, more lights burning, now guards visible at every entrance. They were expecting retaliation, but not this soon, not this direct. Hawk dropped Marcus and Elena 2 blocks away. They walked the rest hands visible, no weapons drawn. Marcus's phone rang when they were 50 yards out. He answered. Anthony? Marcus Donovan. I didn't expect you to be this stupid. Anthony's voice carried through the speaker. You stole my property. Now you walk back into my hands. I came to negotiate. You wanted 500,000. I've got 200,000 in cash. It's what I can get on short notice. You take it, we settle the debt, everyone walks away. 200,000. You insult me. It's what I have. Take it or don't, but I'm done running. We settle this now, one way or another. Silence on the line. Then come to the main entrance, hands visible. You try anything, you die. And bring the girl. I want her to watch what happens when people cross the Castellano family. The call ended. Marcus looked at Elena. Last chance to back out. I'm going. They walked to the main entrance where 6 guards waited, rifles trained. The door opened and Vincent Russo stepped out, his face a mask of bruises from the fight at the diner. When he saw Elena, something ugly twisted across his expression. The little waitress. Come to watch your boyfriend die. Elena didn't respond, kept her face neutral, the way Preacher had taught her. Don't give them a reaction. Don't give them power. Vincent led them inside through corridors that reeked of old blood and rust upstairs to the 3rd floor, where Anthony Castellano waited in what had once been the plant manager's office. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the plant floor below. A massive desk dominated the room, and behind it, in his wheelchair, with oxygen tubes running to his nose, sat Anthony. He looked worse than his photograph, more frail, more dependent on the machines keeping him alive. But his eyes were sharp, intelligent, calculating. Those were the eyes of a predator, and they fixed on Marcus with undisguised hatred. Marcus Donovan, at last we meet properly. Anthony, let's talk business. Business. Anthony laughed, a wet sound from damaged lungs. You think this is business? This is personal. You killed Ryan, my nephew, the boy I raised after his father died. He killed my daughter. And you killed him in prison. Paid 50,000 to Aryan Brotherhood to make it look like a yard fight. Did you think I wouldn't find out? I hoped you would. I wanted you to know justice was done. Justice, Anthony's face flushed red. Justice is what I'm about to deliver. Vincent, bring the chairs. Vincent dragged 2 metal chairs into the room, zip-tied Marcus's hands behind his back, then Elena's. They sat facing Anthony's desk, helpless. Through the windows, Elena could see the plant floor below, at least 20 guards visible, all armed, all watching the office. Here's what's going to happen. Anthony wheeled closer, his chair's motor whining. I'm going to kill you both. But first, I want you to understand why. I want you to feel what I felt when Ryan died. Ryan deserved to die. He beat Katie to death. Ryan was weak. He couldn't control his anger. But he was family. And family is everything, Marcus. You should know that. You've got your little motorcycle family, don't you? The Iron Saints, brothers who'd die for you. They would. Good. Then they can die with you. Anthony pulled out a phone, showed the screen. I've got 40 men in this building, another 20 outside. When dawn breaks, my contract goes live. 100,000 for your head. 50 for each of your brothers. By noon tomorrow, the Iron Saints will be extinct. Your legacy will be dead men and burning clubhouses. You think you've won. but you're wrong. Am I because from where I sit, you're tied to a chair, your girlfriend's about to watch you die, and I've got an army between you and freedom? How exactly am I wrong? Marcus smiled, and it was the smile of a man holding cards his opponent couldn't see. Because I'm not here to surrender, I'm here to stall. Anthony's expression shifted. What? The windows exploded, inward glass raining like diamonds. The distinctive crack of Hawk's rifle echoed across the plant floor. One of the guards near the door dropped, then another. Return fire sparked against concrete as Silver and Rookie hit from the south side, driving guards toward cover. Vincent grabbed for his weapon, but Marcus was already moving. He surged up from the chair, zip-tied hands, and all drove his shoulder into Vincent's gut. They went down in a tangle of limbs. Elena kicked her chair toward Anthony, tangling his wheelchair's wheels. The old man fumbled for a pistol in his lap, hands shaking from COPD and adrenaline. Elena's chair tipped over, and she hit the floor hard. The impact loosened the zip ties enough that she could twist her hands, felt the plastic cutting into her wrists but gaining a few millimeters of give. She worked them like Silver had shown her, flexed the muscles, create space, twist and pull. The zip ties snapped. Anthony had his pistol up, pointing at Marcus's head. Marcus was still wrestling with Vincent, couldn't dodge, couldn't do anything but die. Elena grabbed the fallen chair, swung it with every ounce of strength she had left. The metal caught Anthony's arm, knocked the pistol from his arthritic fingers. The gun skittered across the floor. Anthony wheeled backward, his chair's motor screaming. Marcus got his legs around Vincent's neck, squeezed. Vincent thrashed, then went limp. Marcus rolled free, searched Vincent's pockets with bound hands, found a knife, cut himself free. Elena, get out of here. Marcus grabbed Anthony's dropped pistol. Find Hawk, tell him to extract. This whole building's about to come down on us. Not without you. I need 2 minutes with Anthony. Go. Elena ran out the office door, down the corridor. Gunfire echoed from below, Silver and Rookie still engaging. She found a stairwell, started down. Guards appeared on the second-floor landing, saw her raised weapons. A rifle shot cracked from outside. One guard dropped, then another. Hawk still providing overwatch from wherever he'd set up. The remaining guards scattered, diving for cover. Elena kept running, hit the first floor, saw the loading dock ahead. Silver materialized from a side room. Where's Marcus? Third floor with Anthony. He said 2 minutes. We don't have 2 minutes. This place is crawling with hostiles. Silver grabbed her arm, pulled her toward the exit. Preacher, we're coming out. Suppressing fire now. They burst through the loading dock door into pre-dawn light. Bullets sparked off concrete around them. Hawk's rifle answered from somewhere in the darkness, precise and methodical. Rookies covering fire from the south kept heads down long enough for them to reach the truck. Where's Marcus? Preacher shouted from the driver's seat. Still inside. Elena looked back at the plant. We have to. An explosion rocked the building. Not huge, but big enough to blow out windows on the third floor. Smoke poured from where Anthony's office had been. Then Marcus appeared at the loading dock, running full speed, his face covered in soot and blood. He dove into the truck bed as Preacher floored it. They were moving before Marcus had fully climbed in tires, screaming, the meatpacking plant receding behind them. Gunfire chased them for maybe 100 yards, then fell away. 3 blocks later, they pulled over. Everyone tumbled out, checking for injuries. Hawk had a graze across his ribs. Silver's shoulder was bleeding from shrapnel. Rookie was limping, but mobile. Marcus looked like he'd been through a war. Elena's hands shook as adrenaline crashed. What happened up there? Anthony tried to kill me. I returned the favor. Marcus's voice was flat. He's alive. Badly burned, but alive. I called FBI while the office was burning. Gave them everything, location evidence of his operation recordings I made on my phone, of him confessing to ordering hits. They'll pick him up at the hospital. Will it stick? If it doesn't, it won't matter. Anthony Castellano is finished. His organization's in chaos. Half his men are dead or arrested, and he's going to spend whatever time he has left in a burn unit before federal prison. Marcus met Elena's eyes. You saved my life up there. That chair swing stopped him from shooting me. You saved Tommy. We're even. No, we're family. That's different. Sirens wailed in the distance, multiple units converging on the meatpacking plant. Preacher got them moving again, taking back roads away from the chaos. By the time the sun rose full and golden over Montana, they were 50 miles away, heading to the clubhouse, exhausted and bloody but alive. Tommy waited on the clubhouse porch with a blanket wrapped around his shoulders. When Elena stumbled out of the truck, he ran to her and they held each other, while the Iron Saints watched with the kind of satisfaction that came from promises kept and battles won. "Is it over?" Tommy asked quietly. "It's over." Elena looked at Marcus, who nodded confirmation. "We're safe, we can go home." But first there were statements to give. FBI arrived at the clubhouse by noon, led by a woman named Agent Morrison, who'd been building a RICO case against Castellano for 3 years. The recordings Marcus had made, combined with Joey Mancini's testimony and the evidence gathered from the meatpacking plant, gave her everything she needed. Anthony Castellano was arrested at St. Vincent Hospital, charged with kidnapping, attempted murder, racketeering, and a dozen other counts. Vincent Russo and 8 of his crew were arrested alongside him. The Castellano organization collapsed within a week, its remaining members either arrested or fleeing the state. The contract on the Iron Saints was canceled before it ever went live. And on a Wednesday afternoon, 3 weeks later, Elena returned to her shift at Rosie's Diner. The bell chimed at 3 p.m. right on schedule. 5 motorcycles pulled into the parking lot. The Iron Saints walked in, took their usual booth, and Marcus ordered coffee and pie like nothing had changed. But everything had changed. Miguel brought out the usual order, then paused at Elena's station. "You know what I learned from all this?" "What's that?" "The people who look scary are sometimes the ones keeping us safe. And the people who look safe are sometimes the monsters." He squeezed her shoulder. "I'm glad you're okay, mija." "Me too." Elena brought coffee to the Saints' table, poured 5 cups with practiced precision. Marcus looked up, something warm in his expression. "How's nursing school going?" "I got accepted. Montana State fall semester. Financial aid came through, plus some scholarship I'd never heard of." Elena met his eyes, saw the small smile that told her exactly where that mysterious scholarship had come from. "Thank you for everything." "Nothing to thank us for. Family takes care of family. And that's what we are now, family. That's what you've always been." Marcus pulled out an envelope, slid it across the table. "This is for you." Inside was a card, Iron Saints logo embossed on the front, and inside the card, a photograph. Katie, at 8 years old, sitting on Marcus's motorcycle, that same photo Elena had seen in the clubhouse. On the way, written in Marcus's careful script, "To Elena, Katie would have liked you. Keep the promise we both made." Elena felt tears spring to her eyes. "I will. I promise." "I know." The bell chimed again, and Mrs. Patterson entered for her usual Wednesday pie. Life continued, the world turned, and Rosie's Diner served coffee and comfort to whoever needed it. But Elena carried that photograph in her pocket now, a reminder that some promises were worth fighting for, worth bleeding for, worth keeping even when the cost was high. She'd made it through the fire, and on the other side she'd found something she'd been looking for since her parents died, a family that chose her, protected her, believed she was worth saving. The Iron Saints rode out as the sun set, engines rumbling into the distance. Elena watched from the window until they disappeared, then turned back to her work with a smile. She was safe. Tommy was safe. And somewhere in federal lockup, Anthony Castellano was learning that some debts could only be paid in prison time and broken dreams. Justice, Elena thought, sometimes wore motorcycle leathers and kept his promises, even when those promises cost everything.